Chapter 666. Since Zhua Haiyang was admitted to the hospital, his parents had to be informed. However, although the parents were sad, they were not surprised. After all, their son had suffered a huge blow, and they knew it clearly in their hearts. After cooperating with the doctor and telling them about their son's usual reactions, they thought about it and decided to keep him in the mental hospital for treatment. After Zhua Haiyang woke up, he continued to explain. However, just like before, the doctors and nurses only thought that his illness was acting up. When he resisted, they forced injections and medicine. After a period of time, Zhua Haiyang was already confused. He clearly felt that his brain was not enough. After a few months of torture, his spirit was already at the end of its tether. After this mess, it was even more problematic. Every day, he would write and draw on a piece of paper. He would tell everyone that it was a wine recipe. Every day, he would hold a variety of liquids and tell others that it was sea blue alcohol and that it tasted amazing. Once the other patients did not cooperate, he would start to go crazy. He would punch and kick, becoming more and more violent. Zhua Haiyang became a mental patient. Jing Yunzhao also gave James a big gift. Since he liked women so much, Jing Yunzhao naturally had to get someone to serve him well. He found a sick woman to accompany him for a night. Just as James was about to leave for home, he was found to have contracted an STD. He was so angry that he smashed and smashed things. In the villa, Jing Yunzhao sneaked in. There was a woman beside James. Halfway through, the woman realized that something was wrong and scolded. "Old man, why are you looking for a woman when you're sick? Are you trying to kill me?" After that, she smashed and smashed her newly bought designer bag at James. With a face full of fear, she rushed out of the door. James's body was naked. His face was ferocious and terrifying. At this time, Jing Yunzhao, who was hiding in the dark, glanced at the surrounding situation. He raised his hand and threw out the weapon that he had prepared. In an instant, it hit the chain of the huge chandelier above James' head. With a bang, it smashed down. The moment the chandelier fell, James had already heard the commotion. He subconsciously looked up, but it was too late. He immediately fell into a pool of blood. The two bodyguards who were guarding the villa's door rushed in after hearing the commotion. They were shocked when they saw it. Jing Yunzhao had escaped unscathed. A starving camel was still bigger than a horse. James was rich. Although losing a few $100 million was a huge loss for him, it was not to the extent that he could not live on. However, she did not wish for such a person to remain in this world. James died instantly. This was the first time she had ended someone's life so directly, but there was only joy in her heart. You can't be soft-hearted towards people like James. James's death also shocked those who knew him. However, he was a foreigner after all, and he only had a few business partners in the country. No one really mourned for him. Moreover, James was famous for his lust and selfishness. This kind of person was dead, and no one wanted to waste their feelings. Moreover, James was the only one in the house when he passed away. Although a knife without fingerprints was found at the scene, it was impossible for that kind of thing to cut the chain. Moreover, even if one wanted to cut the chain, one would have to climb a tall building. How could a normal person do that? Naturally, the matter was left unsettled and treated as an accident. The marine company was completely finished. The two people who were most involved with the marine company had gone mad and died. Only then did their notoriety become a thing of the past. However, a few months later, Jing Yunzhao was about to take the most important exam in his life. Chapter 667. It was the beginning of summer, and the air was filled with heat. The scorching sun shone down, making it hard for people to sit or stand still. In the examination room, only the sound of schwa 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 could be heard. Every student was nervous, and some were serious. All of their attention was focused on the test paper in front of them. Seeing this question, Jing Yunzhao was somewhat familiar with it. Although she didn't participate in this exam in her previous life, Qiao Hongye and Qiao Zizhou did. After the two returned home, they discussed it for a long time. She heard some of it, but she didn't know the correct answer at that time. Plus, after so many years, she only recalled it now when she saw the question, so it couldn't be considered cheating. Jing Yunzhao skimmed through the question, her pen flying. Some of the students nearby couldn't help but look at her with envy. The surroundings were quiet. The 3 consecutive days of exams made everyone's footsteps become heavy. The entire county was much quieter than before. The few of us are going to the same city, right? Once the exam ended, Xiao Haiqing gathered everyone together to celebrate and asked. When these words were said, everyone was stunned. What's wrong? Could it be that you haven't thought about which school you want to go to in the future and what kind of major you want to study? Xiao Haiqing looked at them with disdain. In the future, I will be taking care of the household for grandfather, so I will definitely study something related to finance. As for which school, Tang Zihua smiled. I'm afraid it won't be in the same city as you guys. I want to go to X city. There are better universities there, and the environment is better. You're not going to the capital? Su Chu looked at Tang Zihua with disappointment. But this kind of situation, everyone expected it. Although they were a little disappointed, there was nothing they could do. Cousin, I don't want to study medicine, but I don't dare to tell grandfather. What should I do? Su Chu said again. Gan Jinshan heard. You don't want to study either? This time it's over. I'm the same as you. The thing that Grandpa Gan wanted the most in his life was to pass down his medical skills. But now, Gan Jinshan and Su Chu were unexpectedly not interested in medicine. If they chose something unrelated to medicine, Grandpa Gan might faint from anger. The two of them looked at each other with a sad expression on their faces. She stared at Jing Yunzhao cautiously and said, Cousin, can you help us plead with grandfather? The two of us really don't have talent in this area. It's fine if we learn it part-time, but if we put all our heart and soul into it like you, we'll really be bored to death. Learning medicine, especially traditional Chinese medicine, was a long and painful process. There were countless things to memorize every day, and so many strange pharmacology to understand. It was really a painful thing for them. In the past, they were still young, so they were still obedient. But now that it involved their whole lives, of course, they didn't want to listen to the old man anymore. Jing Yunzhao spread out his hands. I can't help it. If you don't want to learn, you can tell the old man yourself. If I say it, the old man will only be angrier. Su Chu pursed her lips. What a headache. They weren't worried about the results at all. Even if they failed, it wouldn't be too bad. But if the two of you don't want to study medicine, what do you want to study? Jing Yunzhao asked again. He was also a little curious. The two of them were stunned. Su Chu shook her head and thought for a while. I still like things that are full of artistic aura. For example, art majors. Jing Yunzhao raised his eyebrows, but he wasn't surprised. Chapter 668. Su Chu had a quiet and clean personality. She had learned all kinds of talents since she was young, so she had a good foundation. After Su Chu finished speaking, Gan Jinshan looked a little embarrassed and didn't say anything. The others were interested when they saw how secretive he was. Xiao Haiqing quickly said, What's going on, Gan Jinshan? Why are you so sissy? I think men should either join the army or go into politics. So I'm still thinking. After Gan Jinshan finished speaking, the others' eyes lit up. Xiao Haiqing even patted his shoulder and said, Good job. You're thinking about your profession. You're already thinking about what you want to do in the future. However, if he wanted to go into politics and administration were better. If he wanted to join the army, there were the best military academies in Jingdu. Xiao Haiqing grinned and said, It's good to have a goal. I've decided to go to Jingdu, but I haven't thought about what I want to study. Yunzhao, you shouldn't be surprised. You must be majoring in Chinese medicine. No, I have a master to teach me Chinese medicine, so I don't need to waste time. Jing Yunzhao took a sip of water and replied. Xiao Haiqing was stunned for a moment and said, That's true. The others nodded as well. They knew a little about Jing Yunzhao's medical skills. Her level was much higher than Old Man Gan's. As for her specific ability, they didn't know, so they couldn't judge. However, they were sure that with her ability, she could definitely be a professor in Chinese medicine. She didn't need to be a student at all. But if she excluded Chinese medicine, did she have to learn Western medicine? Not to mention that Old Man Gan would faint if he knew. Jing Yunzhao's mysterious master and Elder Su wouldn't agree. What's more, Jing Yunzhao wasn't completely clueless about Western medicine. They could often see her hugging books related to anatomy and physiology. She must have self-studied them before. They looked at each other. Xiao Haiqing ruffled her hair irritably. Forget it. Let's talk about it after the scores are out. Anyway, Yunzhao, I'll go wherever you go. We must be together. Jing Yunzhao's mouth twitched. In order to celebrate their graduation, they drank heartily. Haiqing, your alcohol tolerance seems to have improved a lot. After a few bottles, Xiao Haiqing was still able to hold her liquor. She even seemed to be in high spirits. Jing Yunzhao glanced at her. You only know now? For the past few months, there has been a faint smell of alcohol on her body every day. She must have been practicing her alcohol tolerance at home at night. Are you for real? What I smelled before was clearly a fragrance. You even said that it was a different shampoo. Su Chu glared at him. Yunzhao, do you have a dog's nose? Every morning, I take a bath to get rid of the smell, and I even bought a perfume to cover it up. Xiao Haiqing was also stunned. Jing Yunzhao looked at her with disdain. Even after a night, a person who has drunk alcohol will have a different complexion, spirit, and pulse than a normal person. Moreover, you keep rubbing your head every morning. How can I not notice it? Also, do you really think that I give you candy every day? Jing Yunzhao smiled faintly. Xiao Haiqing was dumbfounded. She licked her lips. No wonder Jing Yunzhao always had a box of candy on his desk. It smelled so good. Every time, she would eat a few out of curiosity. It was because she would feel better after eating it. So, it was specially prepared for her? Xiao Haiqing's eyes were filled with hearts. See, I told you that Yunzhao loves me the most. He has done so much for me. It's been a few months, and I only found out now. Chapter 669. Xiao Haiqing's heart was filled with warmth. Jing Yunzhao didn't say much as she pursed her lips and smiled. She could think of the reason why Xiao Haiqing was practicing her alcohol tolerance, so she didn't stop her. If she had mentioned it earlier, she would definitely be embarrassed, so she pretended not to know. Now that she saw that Xiao Haiqing's alcohol tolerance was so good, she felt relieved to mention it. Xiao Haiqing was probably worried that she would get drunk one day and do something she didn't want to do. She would get up from where she fell. That was her personality. The few of them played the whole night outside. When they returned, other than Jing Yunzhao and Xiao Haiqing, the others were already drunk. Su Chu was practically hanging onto Jing Yunzhao's body and refused to get down. Tang Zihua and Gan Jinchun were calling each other brothers, which made Jing Yunzhao feel complicated and amused. The two of them had similar personalities and were both people who cared a lot about face. Usually, they would compare with each other, but now, it was as if their relationship had suddenly deepened. Xiao Daoan, has he been causing trouble recently? Jing Yunzhao asked Xiao Haiqing as he supported Su Chu. Xiao Haiqing's face was a bit red from the wine, looking pretty and flirtatious. She curled her lips and said, Him? He comes every time he's free, but I don't see him. I changed the lock on the door, but after being harassed by him, Jiang Rong's mental state isn't too good. She's obviously pregnant, but she's much lighter than before. Luckily, her due date is coming soon. Jing Yunzhao smiled bitterly. Since Jiang Rong was about to give birth, then Xiao Daoan would probably be even crazier, right? Xiao Daoan's company had shrunk in size, and the villa that he had bought before had been replaced. It had become an ordinary apartment in Ning City, but it was still not as good as the best. However, Xiao Daoan was still not satisfied. After all, he was someone who had almost walked into the upper class of Ning City. That kind of gap might not be able to be filled in this lifetime. Therefore, he often had Xiao Haiqing accompany him to get to know all kinds of bosses. He was really shameless. But what Jing Yunzhao couldn't understand was that Xiao Haiqing always agreed and accompanied him to all kinds of activities. Now, her social skills had improved a lot, and she knew a lot of people. Fortunately, she knew what she was doing and accompanied him to eat and drink. But things like what happened with James didn't happen. I really don't know how you're going to treat the child in Jiang Rong's stomach. Jing Yunzhao was confused. What's so difficult about that? No matter whose child it is, this child will be my leverage against Jiang Rong. When I go to the capital, with this child, Jiang Rong won't be able to do anything. And my father, he thinks that he has everything in his hands, but he doesn't know that he already has nothing. Why do you think I go out with him to socialize every time? I can guarantee that as long as I say the word, my father will immediately lose everything in his hands. Whatever Xiao Daoan was up to, she only needed to call those people, and she would know everything clearly. Other than that, she had tried her best to go to her father's study and even his company countless times during this period of time. She was very clear about all the information that could be used against them. The evidence that should be preserved or the things that should be copied had already been copied and hidden. There was a saying that went, "It's hard to guard against a thief in the house." Wasn't she that thief in the house? But now, it wasn't time for him to lose everything because he hadn't seen his daughter doing well. Thinking of this, Xiao Haiqing's eyes flashed. She was short of money. Although Jing Yunjiao had it, she wasn't so thick-skinned as to go around borrowing money. She would rely on herself. Chapter 670. Xiao Haiqing shook her head and thought about the exam again. Her mind suddenly thought of a way out, but when she looked at Jing Yunjiao, her gaze was conflicted for a while. Once the exam was over, there was plenty of work to do. Jing Yunjiao became a snail hiding in the house again. He spent almost all of his time in the space and absorbed more than half of the spirit jade. There were herbs, fruits, and vegetables everywhere in the space. Looking at these vegetables, Jing Yunjiao thought of Yu Tianxian. She promised Li Xiaoyun that she would go to the capital, so it would be more troublesome to deliver the goods. Fortunately, the safety of the things in the space was much better than outside. Otherwise, it would affect Yu Tianxian's dishes. However, it was easy to completely solve the problem of delivery. After all, there were many villages near the county, and there were even a lot of unused land. They could be self-sufficient. Although the taste was not as good as in the space, as long as they were taken care of properly and avoided pesticides, the taste would not be too different. This could be done slowly by Du Lin in the future. There was no need to rush. While Jing Yunjiao was leisurely absorbing all kinds of knowledge, time passed very quickly outside. In the blink of an eye, the day of the announcement of the results had arrived. Because the time in the space was 5 times slower than outside, Jing Yunjiao completely forgot about it. It was not until Xiao Haiqing called that he knew the results were out. "I haven't checked yet." Jing Yunjiao heard the voice on the other end of the phone and said in confusion, "There's no need to check. You're famous now." 749. Xiao Haiqing's voice was a little incoherent. The total score of the college entrance exam was only 750, but Jing Yunjiao only had 1 point deducted. She heard that it was a symbolic blank for the essay. Jing Yunjiao was stunned. "Oh, I'll treat you guys to a meal later." "Oh? You just said oh?" "Yunjiao, are you still human? You're now the top scholar. I think Teacher Qi is going crazy. He has taught for so many years and is about to retire, but you actually gave him such a big surprise. But speaking of which, don't you want to go and see him? I'm really worried that he'll get sick from the excitement." Xiao Haiqing continued to chatter. Xiao Haiqing was speechless. She already knew that Jing Yunjiao's grades were good, and she also knew that this exam wouldn't stump her at all. However, she didn't expect her exam paper to be so perfect. Jing Yunjiao rubbed his temples. "How are you? And Chu Chu and the others?" "I'm quite satisfied." 680. Chu Chu is a little better. 701. Gan Jinshan and Tang Zihua are also close to 700. Xiao Haiqing said. Jing Yunjiao nodded. Their grades weren't bad. Only Xiao Haiqing was impatient, so she wasn't very stable. However, with their grades, their schools generally wouldn't have any problems. After Xiao Haiqing finished speaking, she began to talk about Jing Yunjiao's grades. She kept flattering Jing Yunjiao, making him dizzy. He found an excuse and quickly hung up the phone. However, as soon as he hung up the phone, Su Chu called again. A few times, Su Chu, Tang Zihua, and Gan Jinshan, then Grandpa Gan, Grandpa Tang, Teacher Qi, and even Pak Yuan, Xiang Jin, and her patients sent their blessings. When the phone calls completely stopped, it was already nighttime. Jing Yunjiao looked at his phone that had run out of battery and was speechless. After thinking about it, he packed his things and hid in Grandpa Su's courtyard. Chapter 671. She couldn't stay in that neighborhood. After all, there were many people who knew where she lived. She didn't want to receive so many people one after another. It was troublesome. In the end, Old Man Su's courtyard was quieter. When the old man heard about her results, he only glanced at her and said, "What's the use of being the top scorer? It would be strange if you didn't become the top scorer." Jing Yunzhao, on the other hand, broke into a smile, genuinely feeling relaxed. She liked to do everything seriously, so she was as careful as possible when she read the exam papers. However, she didn't think so much at the time. If she had known it would be so troublesome, she might have restrained herself and scored less. "Elder Su, I might be going to the capital. Do you want to come with me?" Jing Yunzhao thought for a moment and asked. Making medicine with Old Man Su was the most relaxing thing she could do. Moreover, every time her thoughts wandered, Old Man Su would lecture her, and she would immediately settle down. She also knew that Old Man Su had no relatives in Huaning County. His sons were all in the capital. Now, only Su Xingyuan was by his side to take care of him. Su Xingyuan often told her that every time she wasn't around, the old man's temper wasn't too good. No one persuaded him to drink. Old Man Su snorted. "I'm not going." "Elder Su, if you don't go, I won't be able to help you in the future. Also, I actually have a lot of good medicinal herbs, but there's no share for you. As for those special wines, it's the same." "Stupid girl, we'll talk about this later." When the old man heard this, he fiercely glared at her and angrily returned to his room. Seeing him like this, Jing Yunzhao's face lit up. She didn't want the old man to return to the capital just to have someone by her side. More importantly, she heard Su Xingyuan mention that the old man actually missed his sons. However, he had already said those words out of anger. He was also a stubborn person, so it was impossible for him to take them back. His sons were more or less the same. Therefore, if this situation continued to develop, Old Man Su would really be all alone. Jing Yunzhao stayed at Old Man Su's place. As expected, it was much quieter. Other than the few friends by her side, no one else knew where she lived. Her results were too eye-catching, so the number of people who came to find her wasn't small. Among them were representatives from various big schools, but it was a pity that Jing Yunzhao seemed to have disappeared without a trace. Almost everyone who came returned empty-handed. Xiao Haiqing and the others were a little speechless. Everyone else wished they had such a good reputation, but Jing Yunzhao was different. Just because he was afraid of trouble, he kept everyone at the door. Even when he was filling in the school, he sneaked into the school like a thief. After settling everything, he quickly disappeared. Jing Yunzhao chose a business management major after much deliberation. It was also for the sake of better managing the company in the future. Now that she had Pak Yuan's help, she only needed to make some decisions. Everything was thoroughly analyzed by Pak Yuan and Xiang Jin, so she could safely be a behind-the-scenes boss. However, in reality, she wasn't proficient in this area. Moreover, she would be an adult in less than half a year. When that time came, everything in the company would be handed over to her. At that time, if she took over as an outsider, she wouldn't be able to convince the public. Jing Yunzhao chose University A, which was one of the top 3 universities in the capital. It definitely had a pivotal position. The faculty was abundant, and all kinds of resources were very good. As for Xiao Haiqing, it was beyond Jing Yunzhao's expectations. After seeing that she chose a business management major, she chose a film school with a look of despair. Chapter 672. In fact, the two schools were not far from each other, but Xiao Haiqing's expression was the funniest. While Xiao Haiqing was choosing her school, Jiang Rong gave birth to a son. Xiao Haiqing immediately took the child for a DNA test, and the results proved that the child's father was indeed James. Jiang Rong fainted when she heard the results. Even after she woke up, she looked at the child with a cold expression and even ignored him. Xiao Haiqing recorded Jiang Rong's attitude with a pinhole camera and then found a family to temporarily foster the child. As for the reason for recording, Xiao Haiqing frankly told Jing Yunzhao that it was for the future. The child was destined to be with her, and if Jiang Rong tried to sow discord in the future, these videos would be the evidence. Jing Yunzhao was speechless when she started to scheme so early, but she did everything to protect herself, and it was also because of Jiang Rong's many years of coercion, so Jing Yunzhao did not think there was anything wrong with it. When there was only one day left before she had to report, Jing Yunzhao finally started her journey. Pak Yuan specially drove to pick her up, but Jing Yunjiao refused. In her previous life, she had been trapped in a small place like Huaning County and had never traveled far. Moreover, she had already agreed to go with Xiao Haiqing and the others to experience the atmosphere and scenery along the way. If she sat in Pak Yuan's car, it would be too boring. When the time came, the few of them gathered together and stepped onto the train. It took about 10 hours to travel from the county to the capital. The four of them carried bags of various sizes into the carriage. There was a slight smell in the carriage, but it was still clean. After finding a place to sleep, they went to rest. Because they set off in the early morning, most of the people in the carriage were extremely quiet, and they did not make any noise. However, it had to be said that there were many young faces in the carriage. After all, it was the start of the school season, and many people were about to start their journey away from home. Jing Yunjiao glanced around and found that many of them had proud expressions on their faces. Obviously, they were full of yearning and passion for the future. I see that there are quite a few people of the same age in the carriage. Are they all going to school in the capital? Maybe we'll even be in the same school. A female voice came from the seat next to him. The other 3 people in that seat also made a rustling noise. Hey, what school are you from? The boy asked. Me? I was lucky and got into a university. You guys know that the cutoff for a university is really high. Not many people in the entire county can go there. The girl's voice was filled with pride. At the mention of a university, Jing Yunjiao tilted his head and took a few more glances. The girl was wearing ordinary clothes and a pair of glasses. Her short hair was a little messy, and she wasn't very pretty. As soon as the girl said that, the other 3 people sitting with her looked envious. A university? That's amazing. But I heard that the top scholar of the college entrance examination applied there with a high score of 749. It's a pity that I didn't see any news about her. But don't tell me you're that top scholar? The girl was stunned, and a trace of uneasiness flashed across her face. She only said, actually, the other universities are also very good. There are even 2 universities that are neck and neck with a university. It's a pity that I can't be in 2 places at the same time. Otherwise, I'd really want to go to all of them to take a look. Her non-denial attitude made the 3 people a little excited. Jing Yunjiao raised his eyebrows and did not say anything. Xiao Haiqing sneered and climbed down from the top bunk. She whispered in Jing Yunjiao's ear, "How thick-skinned. If I were you, I'd rush up and expose her." Chapter 673. Xiao Haiqing rolled her eyes fiercely. Jing Yunjiao tugged at her and said, "Forget it. If you really expose her, it'll be embarrassing." This person didn't deny it or admit it. She just wanted to save her face. It was just a small matter, so there was no need to be so confrontational. If I were you, I'd want to publicize this matter to everyone. Then, this wouldn't have happened. Xiao Haiqing's face was filled with righteous indignation. Jing Yunjiao smiled and didn't agree. Although it was a good thing, once everyone knew about it, there would always be people digging up her past. When that time came, there would definitely be reports about her being independent without parents. She had experienced the feeling of being the center of attention before. If looks could kill, she was afraid that she would have fallen 10,000 times under those gazes. Compared to a flamboyant life, she preferred to keep a low profile. After all, she still had a long time to spend in university. Oh right, Haiqing, I haven't asked you yet. Why did you choose to study acting? Do you really want to be an artist in the future? Jing Yunjiao suddenly asked. It wasn't that she thought there was anything wrong with being an artist, but she originally thought that Xiao Haiqing would also choose to major in business. Moreover, not long ago, Xiao Haiqing looked like she wanted to be together with her. However, in the blink of an eye, she actually went to another school. This made her feel a little surprised. With my beauty, do you think there won't be a day when I'll be successful? Once I become popular, I'll earn money faster. After I have money, I'll consider doing other things. Xiao Haiqing grinned. Jing Yunjiao frowned. Just as he was about to speak, Xiao Haiqing cut him off. Dear, I know you have money, but it's yours. Do you think I'm the kind of person who would live on charity? Jing Yunjiao was suddenly speechless. Whether it was an artist or not, Xiao Haiqing had good looks and a good voice. She was smart and straightforward. As long as she studied hard, She could definitely develop into an all-rounder in the future. What if it doesn't? Suchu asked softly. Xiao Haiqing's mouth twitched. Don't jinx it. If it doesn't become popular, then I can only accept my fate. When that happens, I'll toss my dignity aside and beg Jing Yunjiao to open an artist agency for me. He blabbered on, but every word was true. Suchu giggled at her teasing, but because the surroundings were still very quiet, she deliberately lowered her voice to not be noisy. Suchu had gone to the Capital City Academy of Fine Arts. Her future would probably be as bright as ever. However, it took a lot of effort for Suchu and Gan Jinchen to apply for the university. Suchu was still all right, as Grandpa Gan was not very strict with her. However, it was different for Gan Jinchen. He negotiated with his family for a long time. In the end, everyone took a step back. Gan Jinchen was still practicing medicine, but he was a military doctor. In any case, it was related to the word military, so Gan Jinchen was quite satisfied. The four of them chatted for a while and became more and more energetic. At this time, the voices around them became a little noisy. The four of us are fated to meet each other. After we go to the capital city, we should keep in touch, especially you, Jing Yunjiao. A university is such a good place. When you come out, your future will be bright. Don't forget about us. Jing Yunjiao was stunned when he heard the name. The school actually respected her decision and did not announce it. Others only knew that the top scholar was in number 1 middle school and knew his name, but they did not know what he looked like. Even though Jing Yunjiao's identity had been exposed once, it was something that happened a long time ago and had long been thrown to the back of people's minds. Chapter 674. Jing Yunjiao wasn't the only one who didn't react. Suchu and the rest were also in a daze as they turned their heads to listen to the commotion around them. The girl who was called Jing Yunjiao laughed dryly. Actually, as long as you study hard, you'll be successful no matter which university you graduate from. You're so polite. But, can I take a picture with you? I'll send the picture to my parents later. They always talk about you in front of me. Oh right, you might not know this, but I have an aunt who is a teacher at number 1 middle school. She even taught you before. The girl's face turned pale when she heard this. A picture? Forget it. I don't look good on camera. I'm afraid of pictures. She hurriedly shook her head. The boy was a little disappointed when he heard this, but he didn't take it to heart. He said, What major are you studying at university, eh? Why don't you give me your phone number? I'll ask you out for a meal. The girl's face was a little embarrassed. After the first lie, there were more lies to cover up for. Sorry, I'm a little sleepy. I need to rest now. After speaking, she lay down on the bed and closed her eyes tightly, afraid that others would call her Jing Yunjiao again. The other 3 people beside her looked at each other. They didn't understand why this girl who was speaking so confidently a moment ago had become so cold and indifferent in the blink of an eye. The girl on the top bunk was fine. She just stuck out her tongue to ease the awkwardness and climbed back to the top bunk to rest. However, one of the boys opposite her was a little disgusted. How can it be like this? Isn't it just a top scholar? What's the big deal? She won't take a picture with us and won't give us her phone number. That's fine. But now she won't even talk to us? All right, that's enough. People with good grades aren't very sociable. I can understand that. Another boy smiled. That's why it's useless to be the top scholar. Nowadays, people don't go to high school or university. Instead, they become bosses. Those top scholars and runners-up end up working. What's the point of doing well now? They don't even know common courtesy. They might not be better than us in the future, the narrow-minded boy said again. It would have been better if he hadn't said anything. His words made the girl angry. Whoosh. She sat up from her bed and stared at them. I think you guys are sour grapes because you can't eat them. What does me being the top scorer have to do with you? Did I disturb you from eating and drinking? She even said that I might be able to do better than her in the future. She must be bragging. Although the university you went to is also in the capital, I've never heard of it. It's just a small, rundown school. As soon as these words were spoken, the smell of gunpowder grew stronger. The carriage was originally quiet, but at this moment, many people were woken up by the noise, and more or less had some opinions. However, the girl had no intention of stopping. She snorted and continued, I've said so much, but to you, it's like playing the lute to a cow. With your limited knowledge, you're only fit to be led by the nose in the future. You know very well what kind of place a university is. Everyone there is an elite. Even if I don't learn anything, I'll have more connections than you after I graduate. His words caused some people to whisper to each other. The two boys were surprised. They didn't expect such a big counterattack. Before they could speak, an old man behind them said, "Little girl, I just heard that you were the top scorer in the exam. You're quite outstanding, but can you adjust your voice a little? Because everyone is tired from the bus ride, and many of them are sleeping." Chapter 675. The old man's voice sounded a little tired, but he spoke very politely. The two boys on the other seats were a little embarrassed. However, the girl was still a little unhappy. "Grandpa, I wasn't the one who started it. Why didn't you uphold justice when he spoke?" That child only said one sentence. His voice wasn't very loud. "How loud can my voice be? This is a carriage, not a hotel. I don't have the responsibility to be quiet, right?" The girl said again. The old man choked. Clearly, he wasn't good at arguing. However, the auntie beside him was very fierce. She opened her mouth and said, "Young lady, do you have any manners? I was just reminding you. Who are you trying to scare by being so fierce? Look at yourself. Didn't you wake everyone in the carriage? It's fine if you don't apologize, but you actually treat it like it's nothing. Auntie, who are you? What right do you have to control me?" The girl was a little angry. How could she be blamed for this? The two boys opposite her didn't have any discernment, or rather, they were deliberately looking for trouble. They could tell that she didn't want to talk to them, but they insisted on talking to her. If that was the case, why did she have to be polite? Many people looked down on the girl's actions. The girl's voice wasn't soft from the beginning. However, when she mentioned that she was the top scholar in the college entrance examination, everyone felt that she had a bright future and was more respectful and polite. However, she didn't lower her voice and her tone was a little arrogant. That was fine, but she even quarreled for no reason. However, it was understandable that the boy had a bad attitude first. However, they couldn't accept that the girl was so fierce to an old man. Immediately, someone helped the auntie and the old man shout at the girl. The girl was extremely aggrieved, but she wasn't to be outdone. She looked a little scary. When Jing Yunjiao saw the chaos, she knew that it was better to clarify things. Although quarreling wasn't a big deal, her reputation was too innocent. She stood up and was about to walk over when she saw the old man suddenly clutching his chest. The people beside him were shocked and didn't know what to do. The girl looked guilty, but she braced herself and said, Are you deliberately pretending to be sick? I didn't touch you. Don't blame me." He felt so wronged. She did pretend to be Jing Yunjiao, but she didn't do it on purpose. It was obvious that the guy opposite her mistook her for someone else. That guy was so annoying. Could it be that everyone who went to a university was Jing Yunjiao? With a flustered look on his face, he realized that he was being glared at, so he angrily returned to his seat. His hands were clutching the corners of his clothes in fear. However, when he remembered that he had used Jing Yunjiao's name, he heaved a sigh of relief. "Please step aside." At this moment, a voice came from behind. Jing Yunjiao squeezed her way over and laid the old man down on the bed. She quickly took out her silver needles and pierced them into the old man's acupuncture points. The people at the side did not understand what was going on and immediately wanted to stop them. Xiao Haiqing and the other two hurriedly stopped them and explained, "Yunjiao knows medical skills and is saving people now. Please give her some time." Jing Yunjiao's acupuncture was fast and accurate. After a few needles, the old man's complexion had eased. She quickly took out a bottle of medicine from her space and gave 2 pills to the old man. In order to prevent all kinds of situations from happening, she made a lot of pills according to various diseases and put them in her space. Chapter 676. Xiao Haiqing's way of addressing her made everyone feel a little strange. Yun Zhao should be referring to the girl who was trying to save his life. Coincidentally, the top scorer in the front seat was also called Yun Zhao. What a coincidence. After a while, the old man breathed heavily. Stop arguing. If he knew that it would cause such a big commotion, he wouldn't have reminded the little girl. Your body isn't that big of a problem, but you should try to avoid getting emotional in the future, Jing Yunjiao said. The old man was prone to problems in all aspects of his body, and he couldn't handle some big changes. Fortunately, this wasn't a serious matter, so the old man was just a little anxious and out of breath. It wasn't a big problem with his body. You are. The old man was confused. My name is Jing Yunjiao, Jing Yunjiao said again. The surroundings fell silent. The girl's heart skipped a beat, and she quickly stood up to glare at Jing Yunjiao. Jing Yunjiao? It can't be that coincidental. However, it was indeed possible because it was almost time for a university's registration. Jing Yunjiao was also from Huaning County, so it was very likely that he was sitting in the same car as her. You're Jing Yunjiao? Then she has the same name? What a coincidence. One of the boys said in surprise. It is quite a coincidence, and our family's Yunjiao is also a student of a university, and she just so happened to score 749 points, Xiao Haiqing said directly with a smile. When he said this, the meaning he wanted to express was much more obvious. Confusion and surprise flashed across the eyes of the people around them, and someone reacted quickly. That means you're the top scorer, Jing Yunjiao? Then what about her? She just said that she was the top scorer. Oh, you're a fake? You were lying to us? The girl's face was as white as a sheet. She didn't expect her luck to be so bad. A strong sense of innocence surfaced in her heart. She didn't even think of pretending to be Jing Yunjiao. It was just that others had linked her and Jing Yunjiao together. Who knew that the real thing was in the same car, and even the seat was right next to her, just across the aisle. Everyone looked at the girl with complicated expressions. The girl was extremely flustered, but when she thought about it carefully, she realized that they were just strangers she had met by chance. There was no need to get angry over this kind of thing. She immediately straightened her scalp and said, My name is Tao Ge. You don't need to look at me like that. From the beginning to the end, I didn't say that I was Jing Yunjiao. I only said that I was a student of University A. Besides, I'm not lying. Although my results are not as good as Jing Yunjiao's, they are not bad either. After saying those words, the surroundings fell silent. Many people thought about it, but they didn't remember hearing her introduce herself. You didn't deny it at the beginning, so although I heard it, I didn't expose you. But if I remember correctly, when you were talking to this guy, you mentioned that you were the top scorer and that it had nothing to do with them. Am I right? Jing Yunjiao stood up and spoke again. Everyone knows what the two words Xuan mean. You saying those words is equivalent to admitting that you're Jing Yunjiao. If you were just pretending to be me and chatting with others, I wouldn't have minded. However, you threw the elderly's advice to the back of your ears and even yelled and screamed. This is equivalent to bringing shame to me. Now that you've been exposed, don't tell me you still think you shouldn't apologize to me and the people around me. Chapter 677. Jing Yunjiao spoke righteously with a cold expression, making it hard for others to resist. She had always been principled when it came to dealing with people and matters. Although she had done many bad things, she would still abide by the virtue of respecting the old and loving the young in public. This old woman didn't do anything wrong, so under these circumstances, she couldn't possibly yell at her. However, Tao Ge used her name to do this, so to others, it was no different from what she did. If this spread out, the one who would be criticized would be her. Tao Ge's expression was a little ugly. She pursed her lips and bit them. After a while, she said, I'm sorry, okay? She really had 8 lifetimes worth of bad luck to have met this supreme one on the bus. Going to a university was clearly a good thing. But now, because of Jing Yunjiao, her beautiful journey was ruined. If she had known this would happen, she wouldn't have said that she was a student of a university in front of others. Jing Yunjiao glanced at her and snorted disdainfully. She was a little speechless towards this kind of person. She was clearly the one in the wrong. But she still acted like a victim who was forced to apologize, as if she owed her. However, since they were from the same school and the same county, Jing Yunjiao didn't want to be too serious with her. She and Xiao Haiqing went back to their seats. However, just as they returned to their seats, the boy next to them walked over with a smile. He said with a face full of surprise, So you're Jing Yunjiao. You're so pretty. Can I take a picture with you? I'm so embarrassed that I mistook that person for you just now. Since you're embarrassed, then go back to your seat and don't disturb others. Classmate. Although classmate Tao pretended to be me, it seems that it was all caused by your self-righteousness. Jing Yunjiao glared at him without giving him any face. The boy's face darkened and he opened his mouth. However, before he could speak, Jing Yunjiao said, "If you want to lecture me like how you lectured classmate Tao, then I think it's best if you don't. Everyone knows what's right and wrong. You're so aggressive just because I refuse to chat with you and take a picture with you. Your upbringing might not be good." Towards these two boys, Jing Yunjiao also didn't have a single good impression of them. His heart was filled with self-righteous flattery, and he did not use his brain at all. She had just said that she was a student of a university, and he had linked it to her. It was obvious that Tao Gu was a vain person. The reason why she said she was going to a university was to show off and feel the envy of others. However, he mentioned 749 marks. No matter how good Tao Ji's grades were, she couldn't compare. It would be strange if she wasn't embarrassed. All in all, each of them had their own shortcomings. As long as it was quiet enough, she didn't want to bother with them. "Why are you?" Xiao Haiqing and Su Chu immediately glared at the boy halfway through his sentence, causing him to choke back the rest of his words. The boy returned to his seat resentfully. He also felt the disapproving gazes around him. He suppressed his anger and kept quiet. The train sped along. Many people couldn't sleep because of the commotion. "Yunjiao, maybe this Tao Gu is in the same department as you," Su Chu whispered. "So what if we're in the same department? What if they're in the same class or even in the same dormitory?" "That's..." Xiao Haiqing laughed dryly. "Let's not say it. What if we jinx it?" "Actually, if you ask me, the possibility isn't high. The economics department of a university is famous for being a place where only the rich go, especially Yunjiao's department. Also, I saw that classmate Tao had 2 books placed beside her. They were both about accounting, so it's basically impossible for them to meet," Gan Jinshin said. Chapter 678. Jing Yunjiao and the other two were stunned. Xiao Haiqing was even more surprised. "Since when did you know so much about a university?" "It wasn't me. We met before Zihua went to X City. He told me about it. He also said that he wanted to go to a university, but unfortunately, his family's relatives and business are in X City. The environment there is also very good, so he had no choice," Gan Jinshin said. Jing Yunjiao nodded. Actually, she didn't know much about a university, but Pak Yuan was from that school. He said that the environment there was good, and it was good for all aspects. The 4 of them chatted in low voices for a while the side remained silent. Tao Ji's face was dark from head to toe, as if someone owed her a few $1,000,000. Unfortunately, no one cared about her now. The nearly 10-hour journey ended quickly. It was a very interesting journey, especially when they were about to reach the station. The carriage became more lively, and they could hear many people chatting. Some of them were talking about the local customs of capital city, and some were gossiping. Jing Yunjiao was excited and couldn't sleep at all. Although she didn't like crowds, it was her first time taking a train so far away from home, so she was looking forward to it. Once they reached the station, everyone took their things and got off the carriage. Jing Yunjiao only had 1 suitcase, and Xiao Haiqing and the other 2 didn't have much, so they didn't need help. However, before Jing Yunjiao turned around and left her seat, she saw that Tao Gu was so anxious that she was sweating profusely. She was carrying an oversized travel bag on her back and 2 large bags filled with all kinds of daily necessities in her hands. She looked like she was having a hard time walking. After thinking for a while, she went forward and reached out her hand. "Let me help you?" To be able to meet on the same train could be considered fate. The capital was not as close to home as Serene City. After arriving at the capital, he would have to live a life without any relatives or anyone to rely on. Although it was a little exaggerated, it was true that he had to rely on himself. If he could help, he would still help. No need. However, although Jing Yunjiao had good intentions, the other party didn't appreciate it. She even glared at her and walked past her. Jing Yunjiao smiled in surprise. There was nothing to be disappointed about. Originally, he just wanted to do a small favor. Since the other party didn't appreciate it, then it was fine. Besides, he didn't intend to have a deep relationship with them. You're too much. You're treating my kindness as malice, aren't you? Xiao Haiqing rolled her eyes at her. All right, let's go, Jing Yunjiao said with a smile. She was not being kind. The weather was hot now, and they had taken the train in the early hours of the morning. By the time they arrived at the station, it was already around 10 o'clock. After leaving the station, they still had to take the bus to school. The trouble was just about to begin. When they were in the car, she had noticed that Tao Gu had hardly drunk any water. She was also quite agitated and had a huge temper. It would be bad if she got a heat stroke later. Since she knew that there was a possibility of heat stroke, as a doctor, she couldn't just turn a blind eye. However, looking at the girl's appearance, her body was quite strong. The four of them left the station and found a place to eat something to cool down. However, when they entered the restaurant, they met Tao Gu again. She raised her head and looked at the restaurant. Then, she looked disgusted, as if the four of them had done something unforgivable. The four of them were already used to this girl's reaction. After eating and drinking to their fill, they went their separate ways. The four of them went to 4 different schools. Naturally, it was impossible for them to go the same way. Fortunately, it wasn't too far away. In the future, they could still meet up every week. Of course, Gan Jinshan chose the military school. Chapter 679. Going from the original group of 4 to going to school by herself, Jing Yunjiao suddenly felt that there was no one around her. It was indeed a little lonely. While she was on the way, Li Xiaoyun called to express his concern. After the college entrance exam, Li Xiaoyun had already resigned from the school and returned to the capital earlier than her. She didn't tell him that she was coming to school today. It seemed like Du Lin had told him. A university had 100 years of history. This university covered a large area, and it didn't include the other faculties. She only knew that when the results were released, there was a teacher from a university who went to look for her, but she stood him up. When she applied for this university, she heard that the teacher who didn't have any hope was so shocked that he couldn't close his mouth. Jing Yunjiao had done some work before coming here. Even if she was alone, she found a place very smoothly. At this time, the school was already bustling with noise and excitement. After finding the place to report, Jing Yunjiao began to look for her dormitory. She originally planned to buy a house in the capital, but unfortunately, Old Man Su wasn't around, and there was no one else around. When the time came, she would be lonely living outside, so she chose to live in the school dormitory. There were 3 types of dormitories: the normal 8-person dormitory, 6-person dormitory, and 4-person dormitory. The latter was more expensive, but Jing Yunjiao still chose the 4-person dormitory. After all, she didn't like crowds. When there were more people, there would be more friction and unnecessary trouble would be a headache. Carrying her suitcase, Jing Yunjiao pushed open the door. A university's environment was good. The dormitory wasn't small, and the decorations inside were fresh and simple. There were 4 bunk beds. The upper bunk was for resting, and the lower bunk was for an exquisite integrated cabinet that could store some clothes and books. There were also tables and chairs provided. The dormitory also had its own bathroom and bathroom. Overall, it was not bad. The 6-person dormitory and 8-person dormitory were not like this. However, there were many people in the room at this time. Aya, baby, it's going to be hard on you. This room is so hot. How can we live in it? Really, how can such a good school not have a single dormitory? It's not like we can't afford it. A woman chattered. As she spoke, she helped her daughter pack her things. However, the mother and daughter were in a flurry. The more they sorted, the messier it became. It was obvious that they didn't do any chores at all. If I had known this would happen, I would have brought Sister Wang here. How can we pack up all these things? She's really skilled, the woman said again. Jing Yunjiao's mouth twitched. This didn't seem to be a matter of dexterity, but a basic skill in life. Jing Yunjiao sighed and walked in. Once there was movement, the few of them turned their heads and looked over. Their eyes lit up. After all, such a beautiful girl was rare. Aya, little girl, you're also from this school? What's your name? The woman asked with a warm expression. Hello, Auntie. My name is Jing Yunjiao. Jing Yunjiao said politely. This name was the most famous in Huaning County. However, every province had a top scholar, so it wasn't rare outside. No one cared at all. Not bad, not bad. This is my daughter, Bauer. I'll have to trouble you to take care of her in the future. Here, this is Annie's gift to you. Your roommate has already accepted it, so you should accept it too. As she spoke, she took out an exquisite bag. Chapter 680. The woman practically forced the bag into her hands. The bag wasn't big, and it should be filled with cosmetics. There was also a brand name on the outside of the bag. Although she didn't know much about it, looking at the woman's proud look, it should be worth a lot. Jing Yunjiao nodded and smiled. Thank you, Auntie. The woman was satisfied. She then twisted her body and ran over to help her daughter, but the results were still not good even after a few tries. The woman's patience was about to run out. She turned her head towards Jing Yunjiao and the other classmate and asked, "Two classmates? Can you help?" Jing Yunjiao and the other student looked at each other and smiled bitterly. They put down their things and went forward to tidy up. The girl named Bao brought a lot of things, and almost all of them were pink. Pink bedspreads, pink gauze curtains, pink clothes, and even mobile phones and computers had pink covers. Jing Yunjiao looked at the name on her bed. It was Baby Yao. Baby Yao was not bad looking. She had some baby fat, a sweet bun face, and a bun. However, she wasn't very tall, probably less than 1.6 meters. She looked like a little lowly. Her face was innocent and confused. Jing Yunjiao couldn't help but think of the naive and sweet female leads in TV dramas. My name is Ran Xingyue. Hello, please take care of me in the future. When she was almost done tidying up, the other girl smiled at her. Ren Xingyue had short hair. She was wearing a black shirt and jeans. She looked a little dull, and she wore black-rimmed glasses. Her appearance wasn't outstanding, but she wasn't ugly either. She was about the same height as Jing Yunjiao. She was taller than other girls, but her figure was more shriveled and she didn't seem to talk much. Jing Yunjiao smiled back. There was one more dorm room that hadn't arrived. Aya, you guys are better. You're done so quickly. The mother and daughter stood at the side and seemed to want to clap their hands and cheer. Jing Yunjiao's mouth twitched. She took out her things. The school provided bedding, so she brought very few things. In her suitcase, there were only 2 or 3 sets of clothes to change into, and the rest were the books that old man Su had gathered for her. As soon as she opened the suitcase, the few of them were shocked. Yao Baobao's face was filled with curiosity. Do you only have so few clothes? Why didn't you bring any other daily necessities? There are also skincare products and cosmetics. Why aren't there any? There's a store on campus. You can buy daily necessities again. As for skincare products, I've never used them. Jing Yunjiao maintained a polite smile and said politely. Ren Xingyue and Yao Baobao were both stunned. After Baby Yao finished packing her things, the mother and daughter began to bid each other farewell. One was jealous, the other was in tears, and the other was in tears. Jing Yunjiao looked at each other. It was just a parting. It took a full hour for Baby Yao's mother to completely leave. A second ago, Baby Yao was crying so hard that she couldn't catch her breath. But when Mother Yao left, she ran to the balcony to make sure that Mother Yao had left. Suddenly, she laughed out loud. That's great. I can finally live on my own in the future, and I don't have to be controlled by my parents anymore. A few black lines appeared on Jing Yunjiao's forehead. From the looks of it, was that parting look just now all an act? With her acting skills, it was a pity that she didn't go to the same school as Xiao Haiqing. Otherwise, she would definitely win a Best Actress award in the future. Baby Yao climbed onto the bed and rolled around a few times. Fortunately, the bed was small, so her movements weren't too big. Otherwise, others would really think that she had gone crazy. Chapter 681. In comparison, Ren Xingyue was much calmer. She held her laptop and started typing away as if there was no one around. Why do you guys think Hua Tianxian isn't here yet? After a while, Yao Baobao finally calmed down. She stuck her head out of the bed curtain and asked, Hua Tianxian? Jing Yunjiao was stunned. Who was that? It's the remaining roommate. It's written on the bed. Her name is Hua Tianxian. Yao Baobao explained. Jing Yunjiao felt as if there were crows flying around the room. She didn't know whether to laugh or cry. She felt that her roommates were somewhat unique. Hua Tianxian. Her parents must be very proud of their daughter's looks. That's why they gave her this name, right? Jing Yunjiao sighed. She held her book and started reading. It seemed that her life in the future would definitely be exciting. This baby Yao had a lively personality at first glance. She was noisy and knew how to act cute and coquettish. Ren Xingyue looked cool and probably liked peace and quiet. As for this celestial immortal Hua, Jing Yunjiao was thinking when a bang-bang sound came from the dormitory. The three of them turned their heads to look. They didn't see a face. They only saw various bags of goods squeezing through the door. After entering the room, with a Hua sound, everything fell to the ground. Only then did they see a girl with shoulder-length hair. This girl was wearing a pair of small sandals, a floral short skirt, and an exquisite necklace around her neck. After throwing everything on the ground, she sighed. She flicked her hair and looked at the air conditioner. She frowned. No wonder it's so hot. Are you all robots? Can't you feel it? As she spoke, she turned on the air conditioner. Not all dormitories in this school had air conditioners. Even if they did, there was a limit to the electricity consumption. That was why they were saving it so that they could sleep better at night. Feeling the cool breeze, the girl glanced at everyone and said, "What are you all standing there for? These are the gifts I specially picked out today. There are clothes, bags, mobile phones, laptops, and jewelry. You can choose whatever you like." "Oh, I forgot to tell you. My name is Hua Tianxian, and I'm a Virgo. We'll be living in the same dorm from now on. Let me know if you need any help." After saying that, he glanced at his bed. Obviously, he was not very satisfied with the position. He took a deep breath and tidied up the things in the two suitcases. Jing Yunjiao felt a headache coming on. These three people would be the closest to her in the future. Hua Tianxian made a lot of noise as she packed her things. The room was quiet. When she was done, there was still a pile of gifts on the ground. She frowned. "What's wrong? None of you like it?" My mom sent me a lot of things, so there's no need." Yao Baobao was shocked by Hua Tianxian's imposing manner and said with a timid expression, "I don't like those things." Ren Xingyue was even more straightforward. Hua Tianxian turned to look at Jing Yunjiao and said, "You have the least things on your bed and table. You should be able to use them, right?" "Thank you, but I don't need them either." Jing Yunjiao was still considered polite. Hua Tianxian smiled arrogantly. "Is that so? Since no one likes them, I have no use for them anyway, so I'll just throw them away." Hua Tianxian was still smiling. Without another word, she picked up the things and threw them off the balcony. The dorm is on the 5th floor. If it hits someone, it'll be very... Yao Baobao was halfway through her sentence when she heard a scream from below. Chapter 682. The three of them couldn't help but glance at Yao Baobao when they heard her scream. Yao Baobao hurriedly shrank her head back. I don't know how to predict. I just feel that throwing things from high up in the air isn't good." "I know it's not good, but there's nowhere to put it." Hua Tianxian sighed. She tied her hair up casually and opened the door to go downstairs. Jing Yunjiao and the other two helplessly followed to take a look. Downstairs, a girl was lying on the ground. Bags and her luggage were scattered all over the floor. Jing Yunjiao sweated when he saw her face. It was indeed a small world. Hua Tianxian could have hit anyone, but it just had to hit Tao Ge. "What's wrong?" Ren Xingyue asked when she saw Jing Yunjiao frown. Jing Yunjiao shook his head. Actually, the thing didn't hit anyone. It looked like Tao Ge had dodged it. However, she had fallen and scraped her hand when she dodged it. Hua Tianxian had a fiery and flamboyant personality. After she walked over, she looked at Tao Ge and asked, "How are you? Are you okay? If you're hurt, I'll send you to the hospital." Tao Ge suppressed a belly full of anger. She had bumped into Jing Yunjiao on the bus and was humiliated. However, who would have thought that when she finally arrived at the school and was about to reach the dormitory building, another unexpected disaster would come flying at her. She really didn't check the almanac before she left home. That was why she was so unlucky. "Do you think I'm okay? Don't you know that throwing things like that can kill someone?" Tao Ge yelled angrily. She then saw Jing Yunjiao behind Hua Tianxian and became even angrier. Jing Yunjiao, you made her throw it on purpose, didn't you? I already apologized to you in the car. Do you have to hold on to someone else's weakness and not let it go? If something happened to me, can you bear the responsibility? As soon as she said this, the other three looked at Jing Yunjiao in astonishment. Hua Tianxian's lips twitched. Do you know each other? You could say that. We came from the same county. We bumped into each other on the train and had some friction, Jing Yunjiao said. Is that so? Hua Tianxian was a little surprised. She thought that the people in their dormitory were from good families because this dormitory was indeed a little expensive. Ordinary families would probably choose a 6-person or 8-person dormitory. Of course, it wasn't ridiculously expensive. The most important thing was Jing Yunjiao's temperament. When she entered the dormitory, with just a glance, she knew that baby Yao was definitely a rich family's daughter. This was because everything she wore was branded, and the things she used were also expensive. Ren Xingyu was a little worse, but it was still not bad. She could be considered to be inferior to the best, but superior to the worst. As for this Jing Yunjiao, she couldn't understand her the most. The things he used were ordinary, but he had a certain temperament. The things she bought and the things she used weren't things that normal people could afford. Logically speaking, Jing Yunjiao should have taken a few more glances at them, but from start to finish, she wasn't the least bit interested. Thus, she guessed that Jing Yunjiao was probably a self-disciplined rich young miss. She didn't expect him to be from the county. I was the one who threw the things. Why are you pointing fingers at others? I, Hua Tianxian, have always been responsible for my own actions. Hua Tianxian snorted softly. As she spoke, she glanced at the things on the ground. It's my fault for throwing them at you. I apologize to you. I'm sorry. Also, take these things as a gift from me. Why do we need the police if apologies are useful? Tao Gu said angrily. She didn't want these lousy things. So you don't accept my apologies? Fine, call the police and get someone to arrest me. I'll give you my parents' numbers. Maybe you'll be lucky and get them to come over. However, I can't guarantee that they'll treat you better than I do, Hua Tianxian said again. Chapter 683. After he finished speaking, Jing Yunjiao and the other two were already stunned into a daze. This was the first time they had seen a girl seriously apologize after smashing someone, but she still looked like she was someone they couldn't afford to offend. Furthermore, judging from her words, her parents were probably extremely busy and probably had a bad temper. It was no wonder that celestial immortal Hua was so direct and arrogant. Tao Gu was so angry that she wanted to cry. At this moment, Hua Tianxian squatted down and said, Why are you feeling wronged? I didn't want to hit you when I threw the things just now, but I saw you rolling your eyes at our building and mumbling something that I couldn't hear clearly. But if I'm wrong, you must be cursing. I can't stand vulgarities, so I threw them at you to get to know you. Don't be unhappy. These things add up to tens of thousands of yuan. Tao Gu glared at her. She was venting just now, but it couldn't be considered cursing. She stayed in the 6-person building next door, and she heard that the environment there wasn't very good. So when she passed by the 4-person building, she was a little upset and said a few words in a strange tone. At this moment, Jing Yunjiao only had the words prodigal girl in his mind. Other than that, there was no other way to describe Hua Tianxian. He really didn't know what kind of family background gave birth to such a twisted personality. She threw money at people without saying anything. She was really a weirdo. I just said a few words. I didn't curse you at all. You're too unreasonable. Oh, then it looks like you don't want these things. Forget it. I'll take them back. After Hua Tianxian finished speaking, she picked up the things on the ground and walked away with them. You're not allowed to leave. Tao Gu was furious. Things worth tens of thousands of yuan? She just saw that there was a new unopened phone case. It was the latest model and was quite expensive. There were also clothes. Although she was jealous, she felt that her dignity had been insulted. Why would I stay if I don't leave? Don't tell me you're going to stand here like a rock to admire your husband? Hua Tianxian rolled her eyes. I'm dead tired right now. I don't have time to deal with you. Anyway, I've already said what I wanted to say. You can go to the school leaders or the police. I promise you that I'll cooperate. I'll compensate you if you need to and apologize if you need to. But you can't blame me for this. It made her think of those two-faced people. On the surface, they were fawning over others, but behind their backs, they were just like this girl just now. With a sour face, they said some words because of jealousy. After Hua Tianxian finished speaking, she walked away gracefully. Tao Gu had already stood up from the ground, stomping her feet in anger. Yao Baobao licked her lips. She had never seen such a scene before. One moment, she was looking at Jing Yunzhao. In the next moment, she was looking at Ren Xingyue. Ren Xingyue shrugged her shoulders. Apparently, she didn't want to get involved. Jing Yunzhao glanced at Tao Gu. His expression became serious as he prepared to return to the dormitory. However, Tao Gu said from behind, "Birds of a feather flock together. Jing Yunzhao, you can't even enter a university. On the train this morning, you bullied an old lady. You have no manners at all." Jing Yunzhao stopped in his tracks. His eyes were cold as he turned around. "What did you say? Say it again?" Jing Yunzhao said coldly. Tao Gu was shocked. In a moment of anger, she spoke without thinking and felt uncomfortable. Jing Yunzhao seemed quite generous to be roommates with such a person. It was just that his temper was a little weird. But now, it was hard to stop halfway. "I said you have no manners. Just now on the train, you and your friends quarreled and angered the old lady so much that she fell ill." Tao Gu clenched her fists and bit the bullet. Chapter 684. Jing Yunzhao was so angry that she laughed. Yao Baobao and Ren Xingyue were a little surprised. They didn't believe the girl's words because Jing Yunzhao looked very quiet. She didn't seem like the kind of person who would be noisy and disturb the elderly. She walked over step by step. "Tao Gu, I thought you were just a little vain. I didn't expect you to be more than that. You can even do something like a thief calling out a thief. I really underestimated you," Jing Yunzhao said coldly. "I didn't." Tao Gu felt wronged. "It was clearly your roommate who smashed me. How can you be so righteous? She already said that she did it on purpose. If you didn't ask her to do it, how could she do it? Jing Yunzhao, you're just putting on an act." When she thought about how she lost so much face in front of Jing Yunzhao on the train, her heart felt like it was being burned. Moreover, they both came from Huaning County. Why was there such a big difference between them? When Jing Yunzhao went to Jingdu, she had friends with her, but she was alone. Jing Yunzhao was the province's top scorer. Although her results were good, she didn't even have the right to show off in front of Jing Yunzhao. Also, when they arrived at Jingdu, Jing Yunzhao and her friends went to a Western restaurant to eat. She didn't need to go to that place to know that the price of the food there would be very expensive. It shouldn't be something that students like them could afford. Jing Yunzhao was beautiful and had good results. She was better than her in every aspect, but she just had to make things difficult for her. She embarrassed her on the train, deliberately showed off to her when they went to eat, and now she even asked people to throw things at her. Tao Ji's eyes were slightly red. She stared at Jing Yunzhao, her eyes full of anger. Jing Yunzhao was speechless. Although she knew that this person always considered things from her side, she didn't expect that she could reverse black and white to this extent. "I didn't ask others to throw things. It's up to you to believe it or not," Jing Yunzhao said coldly. "She's your roommate. Of course, you can say whatever you want." Tao Gu said again, "Student Tao, it's not easy to be as thick-skinned as you are. I have nothing to say to someone like you, but I advise you to be more careful with your words in the future. Otherwise, don't blame me for being rough with you." Jing Yunzhao glanced at her coldly. When Tao Gu heard this, his flames burned even brighter. "Using violence against me? Jing Yunzhao, do you still want to hit me? If you have the ability, you..." Bang, bang, bang. Before she could finish her words, she saw a few boxes falling from the air and smashing directly onto Tao Ji's head. Previously, there were things in those boxes, but now, they were just empty boxes of various sizes. They weren't heavy, but there were a lot of them, which made Tao Gu even more embarrassed. "Are you done yet? I've already said that I don't like you. If you want to call the police, then hurry up. You're so noisy." On the balcony upstairs, Hua Tianxian directly shouted. The corner of Jing Yunzhao's mouth twitched, Then she pursed her lips and smiled. This Hua Tianqian's temper was interesting. Her actions were timely. After all, it was her first day at this school. She didn't want to break the rules and beat people up so early. However, looking at Tao Ji's appearance, she really deserved a beating. When Hua Tianqian smashed the boxes just now, she could have prevented Tao Ge from getting into trouble. However, she didn't want to be kind to a troublemaker. This Hua Tianqian didn't act recklessly. Everything in the boxes was taken out. Although it hit someone, it wasn't enough to hurt Tao Ge. At most, it would make her suffer a little. Chapter 685. When Jing Yunjiao saw this, he immediately turned around and left with Yao Baobao and Ren Xingyue. Behind them, Tao Ge was flustered and exasperated. Tears welled up in her eyes, but she did not dare to call the police. She was not stupid. She had just arrived at this school. If she found the school leaders or the police on the first day, then her future days would not be easy. Besides, although this was a big deal in her opinion, it might not be in the eyes of others. Moreover, her injury was only a little bit of skin, and there was not even a trace of blood. How serious could it be in the eyes of others? Tao Ge walked back to the dormitory angrily. In her heart, she had already committed Jing Yunjiao and Hua Tianqian to memory. When Jing Yunjiao and the other two returned to the dormitory, they found that Hua Tianqian had already washed her face and put on a facial mask. She was lying on the bed leisurely and humming a little tune. Her slender and fair thighs were very eye-catching. "You're back? There are facial masks on the table. Let's do them together. After you're done, let's go eat together." Hua Tianqian's words were completely commanding. She really had the temper of a spoiled brat. "Hua Tianqian, why did you really hit her just now? Weren't you afraid that she would really make a scene?" Yao Baobao asked innocently with her curious eyes. "Are you stupid? It would be a joke if she really made a scene over such a small conflict. Moreover, the first time I hit her, I was just trying to scare her. I didn't aim at all. The second time, I threw something light, so it's impossible for anything to happen. Some people have to be taught a lesson. Otherwise, she will think that you're easy to bully," Hua Tianqian said faintly. Yao Baobao's face showed a hint of submission. She eagerly picked up the facial mask on the table and put it on. Ren Xingyue continued to do as she pleased. Jing Yunjiao did not react either. After Hua Tianqian had finished tidying up her appearance, she came over and saw that Jing Yunjiao was holding a book on anatomy and reading it with great interest. She was even writing and drawing on it. But the words were all words that Hua Tianqian couldn't understand. "Anatomy? Are you a pervert? This thing is so disgusting. Why are you looking at it?" Hua Tianqian asked again. The patterns on it were very lifelike. Just one look at it, and he would lose his appetite. "I'm more interested in these things," Jing Yunjiao replied simply. Traditional medicine and Western medicine had their own strengths, so she would also study Western medicine when she was free. However, although she had a photographic memory now, she was not a top genius. There were some things that couldn't be learned by self-study. A lot of things needed to be learned by looking up some information or lessons on the internet. National healers had the spiritual jade, and they only needed to absorb it. In comparison, they had a huge advantage. "I didn't expect you to have such a strong taste. But can you still eat after seeing this?" "I can't live without meat," Hua Tianqian added. He also felt a little strange. On the first day they met, she was quite satisfied with the other 3 people in the dormitory. At least they were not like the friends she met in the past. Some of them always looked at her with a snobbish attitude, fawning on her on the surface but harming her behind her back. However, she was more interested in Jing Yunjiao, who looked the coldest. Closing the book, Jing Yunjiao raised her head and smiled. When animals are killed, they should also be extremely frightened. Under fear, their bodies will definitely react. It's possible that some unpleasant things will appear in their blood or in their body tissues, such as some poisonous excrement. Moreover, it's not only humans who will fall sick, animals will also fall sick. So if you're a person who can't live without meat, I'll give you a word of advice. It's better to control yourself. Chapter 686. Hua Tianqian's face stiffened. "You're purposely disgusting me." "Actually, I didn't say anything. Everyone knows that eating too much meat isn't good. I'm just using a more interesting way to explain this fact. Jing Yunjiao was still smiling. It's not interesting. Hua Tianxian snorted. I didn't expect you to be so stubborn. I only said that you're a pervert. Forget it. I take back my words. Then I accept, Jing Yunjiao said directly. Hua Tianxian stared at her, then pursed her lips and smiled. The few of them stayed in the dormitory for a while before going out to eat together. Hua Tianxian changed into a white gauze dress, fluttering like a fairy, and stepped on high heels, walking like a pampered concubine. Yao Baobao, on the other hand, wore a red and pink suit. Although she was cute, this red color was too dazzling, and Ren Xingyue was like a taciturn gourd. As for Jing Yunjiao, she was wearing a simple white shirt and black casual shorts. She looked quite refreshing. Her figure was tall and well-proportioned. Even though she didn't dress up, her appearance was still the most eye-catching one. It was just that her temperament was cold. Even if she had a smile on her face, it still carried a sense of alienation. Her every movement had a somewhat frightening temperament. The four of them didn't look bad. As soon as they stepped out, the number of people who turned to look at them increased. Although Jing Yunjiao was good-looking, there weren't many people who dared to hit on her. Moreover, she was only a high school student in the past. Students all knew the rules. However, this university was different. The male students' gazes were much more direct than before. Pretty girl, are you new juniors? Hua Tianxian was stopped for the 5th time on the way from the dormitory to the school gate. Jing Yunjiao frowned. She was a little annoyed. Hua Tianxian's lips curled. You want my phone number, right? Here, business card. I'm going to eat now. Don't disturb me. The so-called business card was extremely simple. There was only a string of phone numbers on it. The senior was stunned for a moment. However, he immediately took the business card and said, You're going to eat? Why don't I treat you? There are a few places near the school that have especially good food. No need. Hua Tianxian's eyes were cold. I don't like to see walking hormones when I eat. Jing Yunjiao's mouth twitched. Yao Baobao swallowed her saliva and was stunned. Ren Xingyue was also slightly surprised. The senior laughed dryly. Oh, then I'll call you later. You guys have fun. After saying that, he hurriedly left. Hua Tianxian, you've sent out quite a few business cards. Is that really your phone number? Yao Baobao asked curiously. Damn it. Hua Tianxian's lips curled into a smile. She was beaming with joy. The surroundings were petrified. Why? Yao Baobao was stunned. Her attitude had always been very good when people hit on her. She thought that it was really her phone number. But even if it wasn't real, there was no need to give it to. Auntie? Oh, you don't know. My mom has a younger mentality. She likes handsome guys. Hua Tianxian said as she walked. When she said that, the few of them were even more speechless. What about your dad? Yao Baobao was also a simple-minded person. She was curious and asked directly. Hua Tianxian didn't try to hide it and smiled. He's the same. He likes young girls. Both of them are carnivores. They each play their own game. A business marriage. You know what I mean. When she said that, Yao Baobao fell silent. Jing Yunjiao raised his eyebrows, and a look of understanding flashed across his eyes. So that was the case. No wonder she had such an expression when she mentioned her parents. Chapter 687. However, this was a personal matter. As the saying goes, every family has its own difficulties. She didn't have any extra sympathy for her. Some people had the love and care of their parents, but they were ordinary people, such as Suchu. Some people were loyal, but had poor relationships with their parents, such as Xiao Haiqing. There weren't many people in this world who were perfect in terms of family, love, and friendship. Jing Yunjiao, you're really an interesting person. Shouldn't you sigh and tell me that my parents love me no matter what? You're the first person who didn't react to my situation, Hua Tianxian said again. Of the people she met, some were overflowing with sympathy, some were self-righteous, and some envied her for having 2 ATMs. Jing Yunjiao froze for a moment. You didn't jump out of a rock. What's so strange about parents? Jing Yunjiao said. After seeing a father like Xiao Daoan, Jing Yunjiao felt that other parents weren't bad. At the very least, Hua Tianqian's parents didn't need her to constantly be on guard against them and be full of hatred and scheming. Hua Tianqian giggled a few times. I don't know if I should say that you're clear-headed or cold, but I quite like you as a person. Let's get along well in the future. Hua Tianqian smiled brightly and brightly. Jing Yunjiao didn't know what to say, but nodded in agreement. The four of them found a relatively ordinary restaurant in front of the school gate, ordered a few dishes, and sat down. The restaurant was quite spacious. The owner was an auntie. Because there were new students today, the restaurant was full of friends. It was very lively. Many people from the same dormitory gathered together to cultivate relationships and familiarize themselves with each other. Through chatting, Jing Yunjiao learned the basic situation of the other three people. Hua Tianqian came from a well-to-do family. She was a native of the capital, and her parents had arranged a house for her. However, she was rebellious, so she refused and insisted on staying. Yao Baobao was an outsider. Her parents were very loving, and she had 3 older brothers. As the only girl in the family, she was doted on. Since young, she had never suffered the slightest bit of injustice. Similarly, she had never traveled far. Even when she went to school, she went to the school her parents invested in. She had always lived under their protection. The reason why she was allowed to grow up was because her grandmother could not stand it anymore. That was why she ordered her parents to send her out to study and gain experience. As for Ren Xingyue, just like Hua Tianqian, she was a local. She used to live in her uncle's house. Her uncle's family was well off, but after all, she was living under someone else's roof. Ren Xingyue followed her uncle's wishes and studied business management. She said that she wanted to help her uncle after she graduated. Based on her expression when she spoke, Jing Yunjiao felt that her uncle wanted her to repay his kindness and be loyal to him. In short, they were not ordinary people. When it was Jing Yunjiao's turn, the 3 of them stared at her curiously. They were obviously interested in her identity. I was born in a small county. I was an orphan. I used to have foster parents, but my foster mother passed away due to illness. My foster father was not very reliable, so they broke off their relationship, Jing Yunjiao said. That's it. Hua Tianqian raised her eyebrows. She was obviously not satisfied. She shook her head like a Taoist priest and said, I see that you don't look like an ordinary person, benefactor. Jing Yunjiao could not help but laugh. You'll understand more in the future if you have the chance. After all, it was the first time they had met. How could she say everything without thinking? The others were the same. They were just introducing their family backgrounds. She could not possibly say that she was the boss behind Yuling Wines and that she was worth billions. Chapter 688. Their faces were filled with disappointment. Clearly, they felt that Jing Yunjiao wasn't telling the truth. A person's temperament couldn't lie. Jing Yunjiao gave them a different feeling. She was cold and confident. Although it was only their first day together, they couldn't help but feel that she was somewhat mysterious. So she was born without a mother. No wonder she's so ill-mannered. Just then, a contemptuous voice came from behind. Jing Yunjiao paused and put down her chopsticks. Hua Tianqian and the others were also stunned. They tilted their heads and looked in the direction of the seats behind them. They only saw 6 girls sitting there. Because there was some noise when they came in, they didn't notice that Tao Gu was also in the restaurant. Jing Yunjiao truly felt that she and Tao Gu were enemies on a narrow road. They actually bumped into each other several times in one day. Hey, who were you talking about? Hua Tianqian raised her voice. Tao Ji's heart skipped a beat, but she snorted coldly. I wasn't talking about you. Tao Ji's classmates looked at each other. One of the girls grabbed Tao Ji's arm and said, What are you doing? Don't tell me. The girl you were talking about is there? Tao Ji's expression was a little uncomfortable. When she heard Jing Yunjiao say that she was an orphan, she subconsciously said that. However, after thinking about it, it wasn't a big deal. She didn't mention any names. What could Jing Yunjiao do to her? It's true that ugly people always cause trouble, Hua Tianqian said with a smile. Jing Yunjiao's eyes narrowed slightly. Forget it. Some people's whole family is ill-mannered. It doesn't matter how well-mannered their parents are. That's true. Hua Tianqian smiled. Jing Yunjiao, whose family are you calling ill-mannered? In front of her roommates, Taogu suddenly felt that she had lost face. She stood up and said angrily. Jing Yunjiao raised his eyes and glanced at her. Are you taking it personally? Jing Yunjiao, what's so great about you? Aren't you just an orphan? You eat and drink so much and stay in such an expensive dormitory. I'm afraid that money was given to you by someone else, right? You're being taken care of, and you're still so self-righteous. How thick-skinned. Taogu said again. She had thought that Jing Yunjiao came from a good family. Who knew that he was an orphan? It was fine if she was an orphan, but she had already said that her adoptive mother had passed away and her adoptive father had cut ties with her. Since that was the case, no one should have given her money to spend, but she was still so extravagant. Money couldn't have fallen from the sky. Looking at her appearance, she didn't believe that she hadn't found a man. Jing Yunjiao's expression turned cold. He raised his hand and picked up the cup on the table. He turned his head and threw it directly at Taogu. It happened to hit her forehead. The cup fell to the ground with a bang sound. I warned you to be careful with your words, Jing Yunjiao said coldly. A red mark suddenly appeared on Tao Ji's forehead. Jing Yunjiao controlled his strength very well. It wouldn't take long for the red mark to disappear, but he couldn't forget the scene of the cup magnified in front of his eyes. Tao Ji's pupils constricted. Her whole body trembled in shock. The other students hurriedly leaned back. They didn't expect Jing Yunjiao to throw things at them without saying anything. After a few seconds, Taogu finally reacted. She rushed at Jing Yunjiao like a madwoman. Judging by her posture, she was going to pull Jing Yunjiao's hair. However, before her hand could touch Jing Yunjiao, her wrist was clamped down and pushed away. She staggered and fell at the corner of the table. You're asking for trouble. Jing Yunjiao glanced at her, then turned his head disdainfully. He looked at Hua Tianxian and the others and said, Stop looking. Let's eat. Yao Baobao gulped. She was stunned. Jing Yunjiao, you're so strong. Although Yao Baobao felt that she was strong, her movements just now were too light. She just threw the person lightly, and the girl fell. Chapter 689. There were quite a lot of people in the restaurant, and Tao Ji's fall was very embarrassing. The table shook violently, and the cup on the table fell. The tea inside immediately flowed out, and coincidentally, it landed on Tao Ji's head. Feeling the surrounding gazes, Taogu didn't know what to do. A few of her roommates immediately went forward to help her up, and she stood up awkwardly. However, she was embarrassed. She had just used all her strength to rush over, but she was still thrown out by Jing Yunjiao. With that lesson in mind, she didn't dare to go forward. At this time, she didn't know whether to leave or stay. After standing for a while, she sat back down under the pull of her roommates. The thick glasses on her face were removed, and she couldn't stop sobbing. From time to time, people around them would turn their heads to look at Taogu, then look at Jing Yunjiao, and size him up. Taogu felt wronged, but Jing Yunjiao acted as if nothing had happened. He even added a dish and ate it very happily, as if there was no one around. However, the coldness in his eyes made people tremble with fear. At a glance, they knew that he wasn't a person to be trifled with. Students, are you new students? It's just your first day here. Isn't it better to be harmonious? After all, just now, you were a little too ruthless. After a while, someone spoke up. Nearly 20 minutes had passed, and the tears didn't stop. Jing Yunjiao turned his head to look at the person who spoke. It was a tall guy who looked sunny and righteous. Ruthless? That's because you haven't seen anything more ruthless. Jing Yunjiao said softly. After she finished speaking, she looked at the three people beside her who also didn't have much of an appetite and said, I'm sorry, I made you guys lose your appetite for a meal. How about this? Next time let's find a quiet place. I'll treat. Hua Tianxian put down the cup in her hand and leaned back. Okay, but I'm not a polite person. I won't save money for you. The other two people had a feeling that they wanted to leave immediately. During the meal, they were stared at nonstop, and the crying in the end made them lose their appetite. The four of them took their things and got up to leave. The big boy was left to the side. His face turned red, and he quickly went forward to hold Jing Yunjiao's shoulder. Jing Yunjiao's face turned cold and his body stiffened. His right hand grabbed the opponent's wrist and exerted force, throwing him over his shoulder. With a loud bang, the noisy restaurant instantly quieted down. Everyone in the surroundings was dumbfounded. "Sorry, I don't like people touching me, so I subconsciously defended myself," Jing Yunjiao said. Although it was an apology, he felt that if he touched her again, he would end up the same way. It seemed like it was done on purpose. That boy's back was numb. He rubbed on the ground for a while, gritted his teeth, and groaned twice. His mind was in a daze. By the time he reacted, Jing Yunjiao and the others had already left. Not only was he thrown for nothing, but he also failed to achieve his goal. What Jing Yunjiao hated the most were people who acted as peacemakers without distinguishing right from wrong. That boy was sitting at the table next to Tao Gu, so he was very close to her. Therefore, he clearly heard what Tao Gu said. However, when Tao Gu opened her mouth, he didn't stop her. Instead, he watched Tao Gu cry for 20 minutes before he went forward to persuade her to make peace. Obviously, he felt that girls who cried were pitiful. That move just now was really amazing. In Yao Baobao's eyes, Jing Yunjiao had already become a Hercules. A real person doesn't show his true colors. That's quite impressive, isn't it? If I meet a pervert in the future, I'll call you. Hua Tianxian smiled and said, "That move just now was very professional. It seems like you have some foundation in fighting, right?" Chapter 690. Ren Xingyue's expression brightened slightly. Her eyes under her black-rimmed glasses were particularly spirited at this moment. She looked at Jing Yunjiao with a scorching gaze, which made people confused. "I know some self-defense skills," Jing Yunjiao said. Hua Tianxian raised her eyebrows and revealed an expression of as expected. She knew that this Jing Yunjiao was not simple. Ren Xingyue's face lit up with joy. She changed her reserved attitude and hurriedly said, "Can you teach me a few moves? It's like this. I've been writing a police and bandit novel recently. The female lead knows martial arts. I've looked up a lot of videos and various information, but I always felt that it was a little lacking. But when I saw you move just now, I immediately felt that it was different. It was fast and accurate." Jing Yunjiao and the other two were surprised. "You write novels?" Ren Xingyue was stunned for a moment, and the next second, she was a little embarrassed. "Yes, I can't always spend my uncle's money, so I've been trying to write some things to earn money to support myself since a long time ago. It's considered a small achievement. Jing Yunjiao, can you help me? Of course, I won't let you work for nothing. I can pay you a certain amount of remuneration." Jing Yunjiao chuckled. "Forget about the remuneration. It's just a small matter," Jing Yunjiao said. Previously, when they were in Huaning County, she had been teaching Xiao Haiqing and the other two martial arts, so this was not a problem at all. Ren Xingyue smiled. Her originally slightly gloomy temperament dissipated a lot at this time. "Seeing how amazing you are, I knew that military training wouldn't be a problem for you." Yao Baobao looked at Jing Yunjiao pitifully and said pitifully, "My parents and my older brother all told me to pretend to be sick during military training. How do you guys think I can pretend to be sick? I don't want to be in the sun. When the time comes, I'll be sweating all over. It'll definitely be uncomfortable." If there were no accidents, the military training would be held in 2 days. By then, all the students would have arrived at the school, and some of the daily affairs would have been settled. As for the location of the military training, there were rumors that it would be held at an old military base. The annual military training of University A was extremely perverted. Other than students with certain medical conditions that were inappropriate to participate, the rest of the students were required to attend the training if there were no special circumstances. The training lasted for half a month. It wasn't a long time, but it was said that every year, many students would cry and make a fuss, wanting to run away. "You don't like military training? It's still good to have some proper training," Jing Yunjiao softly replied. "No, my brother said that the military training is scary. He also said that many of his classmates fainted from heat stroke during the military training. Some of them even went crazy and got dizzy from the sun. They couldn't even recognize the way and wouldn't stop even if they bumped into a wall. Anyway, he said that if I go, I'll be a different person when I come back," Yao Baobao said. Jing Yunjiao couldn't help but laugh. He finally understood. It wasn't that Yao Baobao was afraid of the military training, but her family had described it as terrifying. After meeting Baby Yao's mother, he could totally imagine it. Baby Yao, if you don't experience the military training at University A, then you've come here for nothing. But if you think about it, you're so fair and tender. Who knows if you'll turn into a black coal ball when you come back. You really need this skin to cover up your flaws. Look at me, I don't need it. Even if I'm tanned, I'll still be a beauty, Hua Tianxian said proudly with an arrogant face. Chapter 691. Yao Baobao pouted at Hua Tianxian angrily. I'm not ugly. It's just military training. Fine, I'll go. Yao Baobao snorted. I'll bet that you'll be crying in less than 3 days after you go. Hua Tianxian's face was full of arrogance and disdain, completely looking like an imperial concubine who had just won a palace fight. Her appearance was indeed a bit deserving of a beating, but after getting to know her, Jing Yunzhao also knew that this person had this kind of self-centered temper. Her words were always big, but it didn't look like she was going overboard. Then I'll bet with you. If I don't cry, Hua Tianxian, you'll have to wash my clothes for a month. Oh right, you'll have to help me tidy up my bed. Yao Baobao's temper flared. Jing Yunzhao and Ren Xingyue looked at each other and walked in front helplessly. Yao Baobao was a person with simple limbs. She didn't know how to tidy things. It was obvious that she wanted Hua Tianxian to be her servant. Hua Tianxian looked confident. Sure, but if you lose, you'll have to clean our dorm for a month. Is that okay with you? No problem. Yao Baobao was full of fighting spirit. Huh, little girl, we've already made the bet. Even if you beg me in the future, I won't take back the bet. Heavenly Immortal Hua rolled her eyes and wagged her tail, which was about to reach the sky. She raised her head and puffed out her chest, looking down on everything. Hua Tianxian's personality really lived up to her name. Her parents really had foresight. Since school had just started, everything was rather harmonious. On the afternoon of the second day, everyone received their uniform. Seeing the camouflage uniform, Hua Tianxian's temper was clearly a little worse that day. Yao Baobao, on the other hand, found it refreshing. She had long gotten tired of the pink color her parents and brother bought for her, so she was especially satisfied with the military training uniform. However, before the military training started, something happened that Hua Tianxian and Yao Baobao couldn't accept. A university had strict requirements. For this military training, all the girls had to have short hair that reached their ears. Jing Yunzhao was very straightforward. On the morning of the third day, he went out. Not long after, he walked back briskly. His beautiful black hair had disappeared without a trace, and his elegant short hair made him look somewhat handsome. Everyone was stunned when they saw him. Hua Tianxian's face was originally full of resentment, but when she saw Jing Yunzhao's appearance, she felt that he wasn't ugly. She felt a little more confident and dragged Yao Baobao to cut her hair together. They both have short hair, but why is there such a big difference? Looks like I'm born to be a beauty, not a handsome guy. Hua Tianxian hummed, feeling a sense of emptiness in her head. She wanted to ask for comfort, but she couldn't bring herself to do so. The weather is too hot, and it's inconvenient to grow your hair. Just bear with it for a while. It'll grow back in a few months. Jing Yunzhao had always been a person who didn't like hypocrisy. He didn't know how to comfort people at all. Hua Tianxian raised her eyebrows and threw the mirror on the table. She was full of resentment. Other than a portion of the freshmen who didn't participate in the military training, almost all the freshmen in the university looked the same. The day after the haircut, a car stopped at the school gate and took everyone to the military base. Such a big car with a shed. It's like pulling a pig. Hua Tianxian didn't forget to grumble. Jing Yunzhao frowned inwardly. Yao Baobao was even more tactless. Have you seen a pig being pulled? Is it like what we're doing now? Hua Tianxian rolled her eyes. There were many students squeezed into the big car. Before they reached the military base, they were already sweating profusely. Voices of resentment could be heard all around them, and some students were even jealous. Yao Baobao had endured for 2 hours. She rubbed her nose and looked like she was about to cry. Chapter 692. Hua Tianxian also looked like she couldn't take it, but when she saw Yao Baobao, she immediately felt energized. She tidied her hair, took out a small mirror, and looked at herself. She hummed softly. Her endurance was a little stronger. A few hours later, the car stopped at the military training base. According to the class assignments, the instructor guided them to their dormitories, put away their things, and gathered immediately. The military training base was huge and could accommodate thousands of students. All kinds of training facilities were perfect. At first glance, one could tell that the training intensity was not low. The afternoon sun made people dizzy, and their heads felt like they were smoking. Even the soles of their feet felt like they were stepping on iron plates. In front of dozens of people was a meticulous instructor. This instructor looked to be in his 20s. He was very serious and familiar. "All of you, don't whisper to each other." A loud shout made everyone sober up. "Good morning, everyone," the instructor said politely and continued. "My name is Qizhong. From today onwards, I will be your instructor. If you have any problems, you can look for me. However, from today onwards, no matter if you are a top student or a special student, you must obey orders. You are not allowed to make a sound during training. If you speak, you must report it first. Every one of you should know the rules here. Don't break them knowingly." After Qizhong finished speaking, he glanced at everyone and pointed at one of the boys' clothes. "Here, no one cares if you're handsome or not. Wear your clothes properly." The boy's collar was slightly open. His camouflage uniform had become fashionable. He immediately tidied it up. The others also adjusted themselves very cooperatively. Qizhong held a name list in his hand and glanced at it. His gaze swept across Jing Yunjiao's face. After a while, he said, "Attention." Everyone subconsciously puffed out their chests and retracted their legs. Military posture for 1 hour. After he finished speaking, he pointed at the soldier next to him. The soldier's posture was standard. He looked straight ahead and maintained this posture for a long time. The students secretly complained, but they still did as they were told. Jing Yunjiao thought for a long time before he remembered who Qizhong was. He seemed to be one of Li Xiaoyun's brothers. However, when he first saw Li Xiaoyun's 6 friends, they were dressed casually and looked sloppy. Their temperament was completely different from the instructor in front of him. It had to be said that he finally looked like a proper soldier now. He looked very handsome and masculine, and his gaze was firm. Compared to the instructors of the nearby classes, Qizhong was clearly the most handsome one. However, Jing Yunjiao was also a little confused. Li Xiaoyun's brothers should not have a low military rank. Why would they come to such a military training base to be instructors? Could it be Li Xiaoyun's arrangement? Jing Yunjiao couldn't help but be suspicious. After all, Li Xiaoyun was indeed someone who would do such a thing. Back then, he had even entered number 1 middle school to be an idle PE teacher. Even if he appeared at the military training base now, she wouldn't be surprised at all. The scorching sun overhead grew thicker and thicker. Yao Baobao and Hua Tianxian, who were beside Jing Yunjiao, swayed slightly. The military training had just begun, and the 2 young ladies couldn't hold on anymore. Taking advantage of the fact that the instructor had turned around, Hua Tianxian secretly tugged at Jing Yunjiao. Only then did she regain her balance. She exhaled and said softly, "He just arrived and he's already at military posture for an hour. This instructor is too evil." As soon as she finished speaking, Qizhong turned around and glanced at Hua Tianxian. "You, step out," Qizhong said bluntly. Hua Tianxian rolled her eyes and walked out speechlessly. This instructor's ears were too sharp. Chapter 693. Jing Yunjiao was speechless. An hour of military posture was nothing to her, and to be honest, it wasn't particularly heavy. It was just that most of her classmates had bones that couldn't be lifted, so it was a little difficult to endure. Hua Tianxian, the young miss, was even more so. After interacting with her for 2 days, she discovered that Hua Tianxian looked like she had nothing left to live for, let alone training. Even walking a few more steps on a daily basis would make Hua Tianxian look like she was about to die. She had mocked baby Yao as an alternative way of comforting herself. To put it bluntly, she was just being stubborn. Hua Tianxian walked to the front and glanced at the instructor. "What did you just say?" Qizhong asked sternly. "Instructor, I said that your skin is dark and manly." Hua Tianxian wasn't stupid. A wise man submits to circumstances. Qizhong glanced at her and said, "That's great. I don't like people praising me, so you'll be in military posture for 2 hours. When Hua Tianxian heard this, she lowered her tail slightly. I can't even praise you? Instructor, we're all students. Is there a need to be so harsh? Military management means that you will be trained according to the requirements of a soldier. This has been the rule of a university for many years, Qi Zhong said, then said, Jing Yunzhao, don't you think so? Jing Yunzhao's mouth twitched. This Qi Zhong, was he doing this on purpose? Instructor, whatever you say. I can't make the decision, Jing Yunzhao said bluntly. Qi Zhong raised his eyebrows. Just obey orders. Jing Yunzhao will be Class A07's monitor for now. After an hour, you'll be in charge of dismissing the class and taking them out for lunch. Yes, instructor. Jing Yunzhao was helpless. The others couldn't help but turn to look at Jing Yunzhao, feeling somewhat uncomfortable. Jing Yunzhao was beautiful. Her skin was as white as jade, and her expression was cold and refreshing. This kind of demeanor was indeed eye-catching. However, if she became the class monitor because of this, she really couldn't be convinced. However, as soon as the instructor arrived, the students didn't dare to make a sound. The instructor looked at Jing Yunzhao and chuckled. Then, he turned around and left the group of students behind. As soon as his figure disappeared, the class immediately let out a long sigh. I'm so tired. There are still more than 30 minutes left. Really, it's too tiring. The instructor is quite handsome, but he doesn't look human when he's handsome. It's only the first day. How are we going to survive the next half a month? Jing Yunzhao felt a headache coming on. Qi Zhong was purposely causing trouble for her. He clearly knew that this was the first day when she needed to set the rules, yet he still ran away and asked her to do something about it? Quiet, Jing Yunzhao said. The cold voice was very loud and clear. Everyone was stunned for a moment. They were silent for a few seconds, but in the blink of an eye, they were noisy again. Class monitor, since the instructor isn't here, why are you so fierce? That's right, that's right. The instructor is so nice to you. You can just talk to him later. Do you really want us to stand for an hour? That's too tiring. Jing Yunzhao lifted her feet and walked to the front. Looking at the crowd, she was still polite. I don't care about anything else. I only know that my task now is to make you stand in military posture for this hour. I hope you won't make things difficult for me. She wasn't the type to use a chicken feather as an arrow, but she had always been clear about what she should do based on her position. This was military training. After all, they weren't here to play. Although they weren't real soldiers, they were still related to the military. At the very least, they still needed to be respected. We didn't make things difficult for you. The instructor isn't here. Can't you relax a little? A student said. Chapter 694. On the first day of the military training, everyone was the most resentful. After all, they had never suffered like this before, so they were somewhat disappointed. Moreover, the one who was favored by the instructor at this time would inevitably be disliked by the other students. These students were somewhat temperamental. They were bored all the way in the car, and then came out to bask in the sun for 20 minutes. Their mood was extremely bad. Some people were dissatisfied and refuted, but others directly sat on the ground and relaxed. I don't want to stop you if you want to relax, but it's not only our class that is training here. Students from other classes are watching, and their instructors naturally see it clearly. When Instructor Qi comes back, if he hears something bad from others, the training will definitely be more intense. Now the choice is up to you. You'd better think clearly about whether you want to cooperate or not. Jing Yunzhao said directly. Even if Qi Zhong came back to trouble her, she wouldn't feel that she couldn't bear it. After all, when she was practicing martial arts in the space, the intensity of the training was not lower than this military training. Moreover, Qi Zhong was Li Xiaoyan's brother. The reason why he asked her to stand up just now was most likely to tease her. It was impossible for him to deliberately target her. So to put it bluntly, if these students didn't listen to the instructor, they would only suffer in the end. However, after hearing Jing Yunzhao's words, some people hesitated a little and restrained themselves. We are 20 or 30 meters away from the other classes. If you feel bored, you can chat in a low voice to pass the time. The instructors of other classes can't hear you. and I won't complain. However, it's best not to make any excessive movements. Otherwise, it will make everyone's training more intense, and the gains won't make up for the losses, right? Jing Yunjiao said again. After all, they were all students, and the training was short-term. It was basically impossible to ask them to be like real soldiers. That's quite reasonable. A student whispered. The two students sitting on the ground thought about it and got up. They agreed with Jing Yunjiao's words. None of them wanted to go against their own bodies. It was true that the instructor wanted Jing Yunjiao to watch over them, but Jing Yunjiao wasn't the only one who could complain. If there were other instructors meddling in other people's business, then they would be in deep trouble. Hey, Jing Yunjiao, do you know the instructor? Suddenly, another student whispered. Yes, how do you know him? How is the instructor? Can you ask him to lower the intensity of his training in the future? Another person asked. Jing Yunjiao was still standing straight, as if he had entered a meditative state. Not really. We've only met once. I only found out his name today, Jing Yunjiao said. Ah, I thought you guys were very close. The classmate looked disappointed. Targeting Jing Yunjiao was just a spur of the moment. Now that they saw that she wasn't the kind of person who would bully others just because she was an instructor, everyone was naturally much friendlier. At the same time, Qi Zhong was in a nearby building, using a pair of binoculars to observe the situation. Seeing that the students were actually very cooperative and standing in a military posture, his stern face revealed a hint of satisfaction. Jing Yunjiao really has some skills. She should be able to make those little fellas cooperate with her with just a few words. You have to call her sister-in-law. In front of the table behind him, Li Xiaoyun sat on a chair, playing with a dart in his hand. He aimed at the target on the opposite wall and gently threw it, hitting the bullseye. I'm her instructor now. If I call her sister-in-law, those students' curiosity will annoy her to death. Big brother, you don't have the qualifications to ask for a title now. Chapter 695. Qi Zhong spoke in a deadpan manner. He looked like a straightforward and honest person at first glance. He was handsome and masculine. Although he didn't look as noble as Li Xiaoyun, he gave off a mature vibe that didn't match his age. I made you an instructor to help her. Don't make trouble for her, Li Xiaoyun said faintly. Big brother, why don't you do such a good job yourself? Why did you make me do it? Besides, sister-in-law will know that you arranged it when she sees me. It doesn't make any difference. Second brother, you're getting more and more long-winded. You're injured and recuperating anyway. It's not a grievance to be an instructor. I have to go on a mission tomorrow. I'm afraid it'll take nearly a month. During this time, take good care of her. Li Xiaoyun stood up and said quietly. Qi Zhong nodded. Okay, big brother. Is the mission dangerous? When isn't it dangerous? Li Xiaoyun asked and patted him on the shoulder. Don't worry and stay here to recuperate. Third brother and the others are here. It won't be a problem. After Li Xiaoyun finished speaking, he took Qi Zhong's binoculars and looked in Jing Yunjiao's direction. After a while, he put down the binoculars and smiled. My Zhao looks quite handsome with short hair. Behind him, Qi Zhong's mouth twitched. All the girls now had short hair and wore hats. From afar, they all looked the same. How could he tell that Jing Yunjiao was handsome? Qi Zhong was speechless. After more than half an hour, when all the students went to the cafeteria to eat, he finally showed up. He glanced at the crowd but couldn't tell which one was Jing Yunjiao. He only felt that there were so many similar backs that it was dazzling. In this big cafeteria, they had to line up to eat. The other classes were led by instructors, so it was very quiet. As the temporary class monitor, Jing Yunjiao could only temporarily take on the role of the leader, leading a group of people to line up to eat. Although the students used to be more undisciplined, the other classes around them were too strict. They didn't want to stand out, so Jing Yunjiao's job was very easy. The first day of training was actually not very heavy. After dinner, it was free time. Qi Zhong led the students to explain the necessary rules in the base. In the dormitory, there was a class of girls. It was very lively, but because it was a fixed time to turn off the lights, and because it was an extremely tiring day, everyone quickly fell asleep. Early the next morning, just as dawn broke, the whistle sounded. Gather. I'll give you 5 minutes to pack up. If you're late by 1 minute, you'll do 30 push-ups. As soon as his voice fell, everyone shuddered and hurriedly climbed out of bed. The students in the room were like headless flies, bumping into each other anxiously. Dong dong, sounds could be heard continuously. If they weren't in a hurry, they would bump into someone or their hands would slip and grab the wrong thing. It was a mess. I'm going crazy. 5 minutes. It takes more than 5 minutes to wash my face. Yao Baobao stamped her feet anxiously, but she didn't move. Yesterday, the instructor taught them how to fold their quilts, but after learning for a whole night, she still couldn't fold the quilt into a tofu shape. After a night, not only did she not improve, she even regressed a lot. Although the quilts on other people's beds weren't as square as the instructor's, at least there was some shape. However, no matter how hard she tried, her quilt was like a puddle of mud. Yao Baobao, why are you standing there? Put on your clothes. Hua Tianxian was speechless. Yao Baobao's handicapped hand was really incomparable. However, in this way, she would definitely be punished, right? Chapter 696. Yao Baobao's mind went blank. Put on the clothes. No, I won't make it in 5 minutes. I'm so anxious. Yao Baobao pouted. She wished she had 5 hands. She hurriedly pulled out the camouflage uniform that was curled up into a ball from the blanket. Due to her nervousness, she used a bit more strength than usual. A ripping sound was heard, and Jing Yunzhao, Hua Tianxian, and the others were all stunned. It's torn. Yao Baobao was stunned. She raised her head and looked at Jing Yunzhao in a daze. She wasn't that strong. Jing Yunzhao rubbed between her eyebrows. Don't worry about it. Put it on first. There was a singlet under the clothes, and the tear was on the sleeve. The tear wasn't very long, but if she didn't put it on, it would be terrible if the instructor came in and took a look. Jing Yunzhao was very fast. She was on the top bunk, so she only saw the tofu pieces neatly placed on top. Not only that, but her clothes were also neatly put on. Compared to the other people who were in a hurry, her reaction was simply methodical. It wasn't that Jing Yunzhao was talented, but she knew that there was no point in being anxious. The more anxious she was, the more chaotic it would be. Therefore, she tried her best to relax and do things one by one. Naturally, she would be able to do it well. However, not everyone had such a strong mentality. Jing Yunzhao and Ren Xingyue brushed their teeth and washed their faces as quickly as possible. When they were ready, Hua Tianxian and Yao Baobao were still in a hurry. The two of them had messy hair. Yao Baobao was hurriedly putting on her shoes, while Hua Tianxian was pouring out bottles and jars from her personal belongings. She no longer had that anxious look on her face. Now, she was slowly touching her face. Jing Yunzhao and Ren Xingyue were speechless. 30 seconds left. Jing Yunzhao reminded Yao Baobao as she helped her tidy up the bed. When Yao Baobao heard this, she immediately screamed, I quit. It's too late. Since it's already too late, there's no need to rush. Let's take it slow. Hua Tianxian grinned, crossed her legs, and smiled at her makeup mirror. Jing Yunzhao was speechless. If these two people were not her roommates, she would really want to be out of sight and out of mind. Beep, beep. The time outside was cut off. There were still half of the students left in the room. They looked at each other in dismay. Some of them struggled for a while before running out, their clothes disheveled. Jing Yunzhao and Ren Xingyue were just about to leave when Hua Tianxian stopped them. Hey, can you two be more loyal? We'll share blessings and misfortunes together. We're from the same dormitory after all. There's no need to abandon us, right? As she spoke, her slender fingers reached over and tugged at their collars. Jing Yunzhao sighed. Forget it. Celestial immortal. Hurry up. Xingyue, let's help Bao Bao. These two young ladies were really hard to please. However, there were quite a few young ladies in the class. The rest of the students were basically in the same state as Yao Baobao and Hua Tianxian. They either didn't know how to tidy up or were smearing all sorts of messy things on their faces. I won't mistreat my face no matter what. The sun is so hot outside. If I don't take some protective measures, I'll peel off a layer of skin in half a month. Hua Tianxian said matter-of-factly, if you do push-ups like this, you'll peel off a layer of skin. Jing Yunzhao shook her head and added, I'll just treat the training as a form of weight loss. I go to the gym every day anyway. Hua Tianxian smiled and reached out to poke Jing Yunzhao's face. You better apply some too. If you become ugly, you'll cry. Chapter 697. Hua Tianxian's attitude was shockingly good, but she didn't use it on the right path. Based on her clear mind just now, as long as she didn't spend too much effort on her face, she would have had enough time. Unfortunately, she was too proud of her looks. Jing Yunzhao lowered his head and looked at his collar. He was speechless. At this moment, people were leaving the room one after another. By the time Yao Baobao and Hua Tianxian were done, more than 10 minutes had passed. When they left the room, they saw their classmates lowering their heads. Qi Zhong's face was gloomy. He glared at Hua Tianxian. He was quite clear on what kind of person Jing Yunzhao was. She was confident and decisive when doing things. Logically speaking, it was impossible for her to exceed the time limit. But now, she was one of the people who exceeded the time limit the longest. It was obvious that she was delayed by these two spoiled and delicate ladies. He hated this kind of weak girl the most. Their bodies were like willow branches, wishy-washy and swaying wherever the wind blew. They didn't have any backbone at all. Do you know how long you're late? Qi Zhong's gaze was serious. Hua Tianxian raised her hand. She was wearing an exquisite woman's watch. It was studded with diamonds. Under the faint morning light, it shone faintly and looked especially noble. 12 minutes. But instructor, we're already very fast. As a girl, of course we want to look good. When noon comes, the sun will be so strong. If we don't put on some makeup, we'll become ugly. Hua Tianxian smiled and was extremely calm. One of them glanced at the watch on her wrist and his gaze darkened. One look and you could tell that this girl was a pretentious one. Of all the people Jing Yunzhao could be close to, she just had to stay with her. What if this girl led him astray in the long run? The base has a rule that all students are only allowed to bring daily necessities. Therefore, electronic products are not allowed. That includes the watch on your wrist. Qi Zhong said coldly. He added, take it off. Hua Tianxian was stunned. She rolled her eyes and elegantly took off the watch on her wrist. She threw it at Qi Zhong. All right, I'll give it to you. This watch is worth more than 100,000. I only bought it a few days ago, but if you like it, I won't be stingy. Arrogant and willful. Qi Zhong's eyes were cold. It seems that you have brought a lot of things here. I didn't check them yesterday because I trusted you, but it seems that you have disappointed me. After saying that, he signaled to the lifestyle committee member next to him and walked directly into the dormitory with a few soldiers. There was a fragrant smell in the girls' dormitory. High-class perfume, and several brands at that. It seems that there are quite a few people who have made mistakes. Qi Zhonggong stepped forward and said softly. Then, he commanded, check all the items. Confiscate everything that doesn't conform to the rules. As soon as he said that, the girls rushed in like crazy. Hua Tianxian's face paled as well. She finally lost her composure. They watched as the committee member and two soldiers pulled out everyone's luggage and dumped them on the ground. Those are my skincare products. Be gentle. It's very expensive. Even if one bottle was broken, the loss would be unbearable. Instructor, I know that you don't like me because I said bad things about you yesterday. I'm willing to apologize for my bad attitude just now. But don't you think that you're going overboard? Hua Tianxian said angrily. She was Hua Tianxian. In her life, no one had dared to yell at her. Qi Zhong stood tall and straight. He turned around and stared at her. I admire your attitude when you know you're wrong, but you're brainless. No illegal items are allowed in the base. This is the rule. Chapter 698. Qi Zhong's aura of righteousness was as cold as ice. Jing Yunzhao couldn't help but feel a little surprised when he saw this. Qi Zhong wasn't so cold in private. He also had some sloppy friends around him, so he didn't appear to be so unsmiling. However, just like him, Li Xiaoyan's attitude towards acquaintances and strangers was completely different. The first time she saw Li Xiaoyan, he seemed a little hypocritical. His smile seemed modest but was actually indifferent. But now, his attitude towards her was gentle and easy to talk to. Hua Tianxian frowned at his rebuttal. Instructor, you're a soldier, but we're not. It's just half a month of military training. Let's just understand each other and let it pass. Why are you so serious? Besides, my bag is full of personal items. My underwear is still there. How am I supposed to wear it if you let someone throw it on the ground? Jing Yunzhao's mouth twitched. Baby Yao's head was almost buried in the ground. The committee members assigned to their dormitory were all women, but there were also men in the military training. At this moment, when they heard the commotion, they were all looking at the door. When they heard Hua Tianxian's words, a few of them sighed a few times and specially glanced at the things on the ground. Shameless. Qi Zhong didn't expect Hua Tianxian to be so direct. His face stiffened. Of course I can say that if you can do it. You're not a woman, so you don't know how important skincare products are to women. Are we going to be so ugly that we can't be seen in public for a year, or so just for these 10 days? Besides, a drop of my skincare products is more expensive than a gram of gold. Hua Tianxian chattered like a female warrior. After she finished speaking, the girls behind her quickly nodded in agreement. Unreasonable. The school rules stipulate that you can only bring sunscreen at most. It's natural for me to clean them up. Qi Zhong snorted. Hua Tianxian didn't get angry. Instead, she laughed. She walked over with an air of elegance and took out her skincare products. One by one, she took them out. This is for sunscreen. It's just that you have to apply a layer of something else before sunscreen. Look at these instructions. It's all written clearly. You can't miss a single step. But instructor, I can tell that you don't have a girlfriend just by looking at you. You don't even know about skincare products, Hua Tianxian said. Perfume is also used for sunscreen? Qi Zhong mocked. This wretched girl was really stubborn. Sure enough, there were very few girls in this world who were as straightforward as Jing Yunzhao. Hua Tianxian turned her head away uncomfortably. Okay, let's both take a step back, okay? Forget about the perfume. I'm willing to hand it over, but not the skincare products. I want to keep them. Qi Zhong laughed coldly, but in the next second, he took the items from Hua Tianxian's hands and said, No, you have to hand everything over now, including the sunscreen. Instantly, resentment filled the air. Hua Tianxian was so angry that she gritted her teeth. She glared at Qi Zhong with her beautiful eyes. However, her good manners and upbringing didn't make her lose her temper. Otherwise, Jing Yunzhao was really worried that she would take things too hard and rush up to Qi Zhong to fight. Qi Zhong was a man of his word, and so were all the lifestyle committee members. Immediately, all the bottles and cans were thrown into a big basket. Pong, pong, pong. Don't worry. After the military training ends, everything will be returned to their rightful owners. However, you are all my soldiers now. You have to obey my orders wholeheartedly. After Qi Zhong finished speaking, he heard many girls start to cry. Yao Baobao was also shocked. She had never been scolded by anyone since she was young. How could she bear this grievance? What are you crying for? Isn't it just 15 days? Qi Zhong, kill me if you can. Otherwise, in half a month, even if you die heroically, I will dig you out. Chapter 699. Hua Tianxian's eyes were also red, but she was still very stubborn and had a bad temper. Qi Zhong was taken aback by her attitude. He had thought that celestial immortal Hua was a spoiled young lady who thought she was infallible, exactly the same as those he had seen in the past. However, he didn't expect her to surprise him. She had quite the backbone. However, we'll see if you can endure these 15 days. Qi Zhong looked down at her and suddenly blew the whistle. Everyone, gather. Suddenly, there was a commotion around them. Almost everyone rushed out in an instant and obediently stood on the training ground. They were orderly and swift. Humph. Hua Tianxian rolled her eyes at Qi Zhong with her nose in the air. She turned around and joined the team with Jing Yunzhao and the other two. Among these students, Jing Yunzhao was the only one whose belongings were not confiscated. First of all, even if she brought anything, she would put it in her space. Second of all, she was very nimble. Whether it was snacks or skincare products, she did not bring them. There were only some self-produced herbs, medicine, vegetables, and fruits in her space. Those who are 5 minutes late or less will do 30 push-ups. Between 5 and 10 minutes, 60 push-ups. Those who are more than 10 minutes late will do 100 push-ups. Start now. The rest of you, stand at attention and wait. His voice was like a bell, but it was a heavy blow. Of course, the only students who were more than 10 minutes late were Jing Yunzhao and the other two. The others glanced at the four of them with sympathy and secretly shook their heads. Jing Yunzhao walked out and lay on the ground without a word. She had already started doing push-ups. Hua Tianxian was also very straightforward. She knew that she did not follow the rules and deserved to be punished. Therefore, she did it without another word. Ren Xingyue and Yao Baobao did the same. However, among the four of them, Yao Baobao was more miserable. She had never done push-ups before. She could not even do one, let alone 100. As soon as she pressed her body down, her whole body fell to the ground. The dust on the ground soon covered her face. She was crying and doing push-ups at the same time. She looked extremely pitiful. Qi Zhong was not a person who would take pity on women. He did not stop her. Crying again. You are really made of water. Don't forget that the 3 days are not up yet. Now that you have lost the bet, you have to be on duty for a month after the military training, Hua Tianxian added. Instantly, Yao Baobao cried even harder. Celestial Immortal Hua, you're lying. You said it was a pity not to come to military training. It's so tiring and tough. If I had known, I would have pretended to be sick. Convince her? No way. Isn't it just 100 push-ups? I'll just do it slowly. I'm here for training anyway. Even if I don't do push-ups, I'll still have to do something else. It's still tough and tiring. What's the difference?
Pus. Was.
Her movements were standard, and every deep press was just right. She didn't even pause in the middle. The boys were dumbfounded. Those were push-ups. Almost all of the body's strength was on the arms. A normal girl would not be able to do it after a few. Even a boy would not be able to do it so effortlessly. Qi Zhong heaved a sigh of relief. He also felt a little bitter in his heart. Fortunately, his sister-in-law was capable. Otherwise, when the boss found out that he punished his sister-in-law, he would definitely find trouble with him. By then, the training he had to endure would be 10 times more intense than this. However, his sister-in-law was close to Hua Tianxian. He could not treat her differently in front of so many people. Chapter 700. After the others were done with their push-ups, Qi Zhong led the rest of the team and started running. Jing Yunzhao and the other three were still working hard to complete the task. A chorus of chants sounded on the training ground, and it sounded quite inspiring. It was just that Jing Yunzhao's group of 4 was too eye-catching. It was still all right during training. After all, no one dared to disobey the instructor's orders. But when it was time to rest, even students from other classes came over to join in the fun. Jing Yunzhao's push-ups were done very quickly. Logically speaking, they should have finished by now. However, Hua Tianxian and the other two were still persisting. If she left first, it would be too disloyal of her. When she returned, Hua Tianxian would probably nag at her for a while. Therefore, she decided to take her time and just treat it as a break. A few steps away, many people had gathered together. When they saw the sorry state of Hua Tianxian and the other two, they covered their mouths and snickered. Their laughter was a little wild. How could Hua Tianxian, the daughter of a rich family, afford to lose face? What are you looking at? Hua Tianxian said fiercely. Hey, why are you being so fierce? We heard that there's a girl named Jing Yunzhao in your class who failed to seduce the instructor. That's why she was punished by the instructor. Is that true? A courageous classmate came over and asked. When he said that, the surrounding people looked at him with even more disdain. Your class's instructor is indeed quite good-looking. However, she dared to seduce him at the beginning of the military training. No wonder he didn't accept her. Someone else said. When Jing Yunzhao heard this, he immediately stood up from the ground and asked, Who said that? What? The other party was stunned. Who said that I seduced the instructor? Jing Yunzhao said coldly. After he finished speaking, he glanced around and saw that Tao Gu was about 10 meters away. She quickly turned her head and seemed to be chatting with her classmates. I don't know. It was spread last night that someone saw Jing Yunjiao looking for the instructor in the middle of the night and was chased out. Oh right, Jing Yunjiao is being supported by someone. Every time he goes to a new place, he will find a new backer. The classmate was shocked after he finished speaking. He pointed at Hua Tianxian and said, "She's not Jing Yunjiao." "You are?" The others were also stunned. This morning, Jing Yunjiao's name became famous among the girls in their class. During the morning training, everyone was guessing who was Jing Yunjiao. But in the end, the bad-tempered girl who was doing push-ups on the ground, almost everyone thought she was the instructor. But now, it was actually proven that Jing Yunjiao was the girl who didn't look like someone who would seduce others. Her appearance was extremely beautiful. Everyone had the same hairstyle, but she gave people a very refreshing feeling. Although she was good-looking, she was not the enchanting type. On the contrary, her eyebrows were somewhat cold and heroic, and her short hair made her look even cooler. Seducing the instructor with such a face? Why did it feel like something was wrong? However, as the saying goes, you can't judge a book by its cover. There must be a reason for such rumors. Jing Yunjiao's expression was so cold that it seemed like he wanted to kill someone. He pointed in Tao Ji's direction and said, "You're in the same class as her, right?" The girl nodded. Jing Yunjiao walked over. Hua Tianxian saw him and quickly got up. She did not forget to grab Yao Baobao and Ren Xingyue and said, "Stop doing it. Go and see what's going on." She actually said that Jing Yunjiao seduced the instructor in the middle of the night? Was this a joke? She and Jing Yunjiao lived in the same bunk. If Jing Yunjiao went out in the middle of the night, she would definitely be the first to know. Moreover, there were guards outside at night. If they really want to find the instructor, they would definitely be discovered. Now, it was obvious that someone was deliberately framing him. You're tuning in to the Romance Rendezvous YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.